Hey, how's it going? Happy Saturday. How's everyone doing today? Man, happy Saturday. Oh, there we go. Volume's a little bit better. How's it going? Happy Saturday. Hope you're doing well on this, fine Saturday. Hope you guys are working on something cool, something interesting, something new, or finishing up something old, or nothing at all. Nothing at all is a fine answer too. So what's going on? How are you doing? Man, so many people in here already. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. In here early. A lot of people in here early. Real quick, before I go through stuff, dude, iLude, thank you so much. Resub, tier 1, 5 months. Dude, thank you so much. Thanks for the resub, and thanks for all you do, man. Really appreciate it. Looks like there was a couple earlier, right before I started, so I'll call them out just in case they're in here. Manny Navy, hey, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Mist 32, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Man, how's everyone doing? Let me turn up my headphones just a little bit so this sounds a little bit better. Man, what are you guys working on today? I know I've been babbling about a lot of stuff that I've been working on. That's been really tough for me, but man, hopefully you guys are working on something fun. I know that what I've been working on has been super challenging, but at the same time super rewarding, and kind of glad a lot of that's over. Let's see, who was first? PC Geek. Yeah, he was first. PC Geek was camping out, I think, in the channel. I think he was. Stream high, PC Geek. How on earth did you beat me? Yeah, Home Lab New. Yeah, I think he has the channel open and ready. So when I hit the button, he doesn't even rely on alerts. He sees the stream go live. But appreciate it, man. Home Lab New, you were pretty close though. I mean, you were within a minute because the timestamp still says 3:10. Got timestamps on this time. Thanks, Penguin Airlines, for reminding me I should have those on. How on earth did you beat me? What's up, Tim? Hey, PC Geek, how's it going? Home Lab New, how's it going? Digging the beats? Thanks. Yeah, I keep hand selecting new music every time, and I keep appending it to the beginning, or pre-pending, I guess I should. Well, depends on how you sort. But I keep appending it to the list, and then my sort is date descending. I hate trying to figure out date sorts and what it means in real life. But yeah, so my oldest ones last added, our first ones played, LIFO. So digging the beats, yeah, Saturday vibes, yeah. Quinn, konbanwa, genki desu ka? I can read that. Quinn, excellent job on your hiragana. So it says konbanwa, you're saying good evening. Genki desu ka? And you're saying, how are you? Really, it's like, good, are you? So Quinn-san, watashi wa genki desu. Kyou wa, what's Saturday? Doyobi desu ne. I totally forget. But yeah, today I'm doing a fantastic, Quinn. Thanks for asking. And I appreciate the hiragana in there. I haven't seen hiragana in a while. Well, actually, I see it all over the internet. But not when someone's chatting, so I appreciate it, man. How you doing? Home Lab New. Got a call with the place I interviewed at for Monday, and they said, have some good news. All right. Hey, whenever you interview and they say we have some good news, yeah, that is, that is good news. That is good news. Well, don't want to celebrate too early, but yeah, congratulations ahead of time, and don't take their first offer. That's my best piece of advice. Always counter, because they usually, I take this with a grain of salt, I should say. But I always counter the offer, because they've already decided, if you do get an offer, they've already decided on you, and so they like you for whatever reason, and probably for many reasons, and you're filling some gap, or they need your skills, and they like you. So don't settle on the first offer, counter, if you can. I mean, what's the worst they could say? No? What's the best they can say? Sure. Anyways, take that with a grain of salt, but it's usually worked out kind of okay in the past after I learned that tip. Because they're not gonna go back to the drawing board and start all over and look for someone higher again. Anyways, take that with a grain of salt, doesn't work everywhere. Takano, what's up, man? How's it going? Heyo. Yes, my bot is working. I have some work to do on the bot, so yeah, I got a couple things got to work on later on tonight, but I have a little bit more time now. It's funny. I said I was going to shift my videos around, and I still released it on Saturday, so I released the one this morning, different time. But last night I was like, Saturday or Monday, and I was like way too excited, so I was like, Saturday, because I got some other things coming. So anyways, long story short, now that I've flexed some things around, that gives me opportunities to work on other things too. So super interested and very grateful. You guys are just like, yeah, that's totally fine. When I said it's not only Saturday anymore, but it's so far only been Saturday. Banana time, yeah. Techno got contacts. All right, man. Yeah, saw that. Yeah, yeah. How are they? Let's see, they're pretty good. You can see way better than just glasses. Nice. I've never put a contact in my eye. Am I against it? No, but I've never done it because these glasses, it's debatable. If I can control the distance that I look at stuff, like from here to a computer screen, I'm totally fine. But when it's more of, you know, I'm looking over here, looking left, right, far, near, that's when I'm like, these glasses kind of help me out. But anyways, I haven't tried them. I think I'd be okay without glasses, but glasses just make it a little more sharp for me, at least. Marco, 22. There's a lot of numbers in there, but Marco, hey Tim, how's it going? Home Avenue. A friend decided to copy my current desk setup, and therefore Techno Tim's setup is spreading. Hey, awesome. Hey, Marco. Speaking of Mark Zero, I'm gonna go with Mark, just Mark. Hey, thanks for the sub, really appreciate it. Tier 1, thank you so much, really appreciate it. Happy Saturday, thank you. Lights are going back there, yeah, hopefully they don't get stuck in a loop. But Home Avenue, awesome, yeah, it's it worked out pretty good for me. I know I've talked about it a few times, but yeah, I'm a huge fan now. Like, I'm glad that the desk I wanted to purchase was out of stock. Because that forced me to think different. And when I was able to think different, I was just like, well, I really just need legs, right? Is that a thing? And then I saw I could buy legs and attach them to any desk I want. And I'm so glad that happened because now if I don't want this desktop anymore, I just get a different piece of wood and put it on there. So I'm super happy. It's got a super long warranty too, and it lifts 250 pounds. Like I could lay on this thing and lift myself. I'm not going to, but I could. But yeah, hey, thanks for sharing. Takano, but at the same time, my glasses are an older prescription, so that may be it. Yeah, that's true. Hey, Tuxit. Hey, thank you so much. Resub, tier 1, 5 months. Man, you and Ilud tied for time. Hugs from France. Hey, how's it going? Well, thank you so much. All the way from France. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. It really helps. Yeah, I really appreciate it. But older prescriptions, so that may be it too. Yeah, I feel like every time I want new glasses, they're like, you need to get your eyes checked. You know, you got to do the whole thing, like eyes checked for everything, and then evaluate your prescription, and you know, it changes a little bit over time. So yeah, it could be both, but let's say it was the context. I'll go with that. PC Geek could be with my glasses. I see 2015. Takano getting new lenses for them. These coming days, and just waiting for them to arrive at the eye doctor's office. Nice. Hey, Leon Zola. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome to the stream. Home Lab New. I tried contacts for a while, but ended up burning my eyes with a hydrogen peroxide cleaning solution. Oh my gosh. Ended up going for a single use, but decided to stick with glasses. Glasses are spectacular. Yeah, they are spectacular. Let's see here. Let's go here. PC Geek, plan to use my TrueNAS server in the future. Low power use and quiet. Nice, yeah. Are you going with are you sticking with your one? No, you said you're not going to use your 1U server because it uses too much power. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I would love to not virtualize my TrueNAS server just because of other reasons, because then if I have to reboot the host, you know, obviously the all clients are going to go down, or all guests. But at the same time, it doesn't take any additional hardware. So I'm kind of torn. I do wish I could find a super duper low power TrueNAS solution that was only hardware. And maybe that's a Celeron or some low end, you know, CPU or AMD, but I don't want to spend a ton of money. That's the other thing too. It's like, okay, you know, if I stop virtualizing my TrueNAS server, then I gotta buy hardware. Then I gotta take up a rack space. Then I gotta get Rails. So that's another reason why I'm just kind of like, I think it's okay being virtualized for now. And it has ever since I've had it. So yeah, I'm in the same boat. Let me know what you decide, man. Let me see. Techno with my eyes. Prescription is around -5, if I recall. Plus, astigmatism. So it could have a custom made. Yeah. Toxic. Hey, how's it going? Loved all the hearts. How you doing? Home Lab New. Big brain idea. Just pay for monthly contacts 30 times per month. Man, you guys are all over these glasses and contacts. Ilude. Finishing up new cabinets for the wife's craft room, which I have run in to help her right now. Should be back in a few minutes. Dude, I kind of glanced and I saw your wife cut her hand in Discord. Dude, hope she's okay. Hope it doesn't require stitches. But man, hope she's okay. Penguin Airlines. Yeah, I like it. I like the emote. Haha cat. I love it. Takano, and nothing much honestly. Soon hoping to work on getting an antenna set up. Nice, man. Yeah, it's fun getting an antenna set up. Oh, probably for your mom, because your mom was gonna cut the cord, right? Super fun. I've been doing over the air with Plex and over the air with Windows Media Center for as far as I can remember. I've been doing it for a really long time, and I love it. Because I get, I get to record and see all local broadcasts for free. I mean, air quotes free, because I had hardware, antenna, all that stuff. But I love it. I mean, I record a ton of PBS, so I like, Nature, Nova, you name it. Tons of PBS, and so I found the easiest way to get it. Although PBS does have streaming too. But it's super fun. It's fun to figure it out. When I moved into this house, fortunately, when I first moved into this house, I was like, why is there this gigantic antenna up there? And someone, the previous owner, left an antenna that's, bigger than my arm span, and it's hanging in the attic because it's a cold attic. Yeah, I mean, it only has a few things up there. But then I was like, I can use this, and had a coax attachment. And so I ran the coax attachment all the way down to the basement. At the same time, I ran my Ethernet here, my network cables. I ran coax all the way down to the basement too. And so I have my HD home run connected to the antenna that's in the attic, and it works out so good because it's so high up, and there's very little. It's on the 2.5 story on top of the house, so there's very little. Interference or anything, at that level, at least that I can tell. And it works out great. And funny, I used the old coax cable as my lead to pull down the new Ethernet cable because it was like all crusted and chewed up and who knows. But I used that as my fish and my lead to pull all my network cables down, and then ran a new one right behind it. So yeah, fun stuff, super fun stuff. But I mean, you don't even need anything like that. They have E-leaves, they have all kinds of antennas. And speaking of antennas, man, there's this guy on YouTube. I think his name's the Antenna Man or Antenna Guy. He's awesome. He knows everything about antennas. He's evaluated like every single antenna you could possibly think about. I think his name's Antenna Guy or Antenna Man. And he just knows a lot about antennas. I mean, younger guy, very knowledgeable, evaluates them all. And he does a lot of stuff, I think, in his local area, but he tests them all too. And he's super awesome. One of my favorite subs that I just randomly sub to one day, and I enjoy seeing his stuff. But anyways, yeah, good luck on that. That's fun stuff. Once you get to figure out and do your channel scans and all that, it's fun too. And then there's all kinds of websites that will tell you which direction to point it and where the towers are from you, and you'll get some, you'll have some tweaking to do, but for the most part, it'll work pretty good. I'm a huge fan. I did that for a long time. Did it in my apartment, did it in an old home, did it here. It's fun to figure out. Once you get it going, it's set it and forget it. Haven't touched mine since. PC Geek, yeah. Toxic, Home Lab rules. Yeah, for sure it does. Penguin Airlines. Oh, man, this track is pretty fire. Oh, thank you. It was probably way earlier, but thank you. Yeah, I handpicked all these. These are, I say it every time, but he deserves the credit. But Harris Heller has a playlist. He has many playlists, and he has many songs, and they're DMCA free. And then I go through all of his playlists and all of his albums, and I handpick out the ones I like, and then I add them to my own playlist, and then I usually have them on repeat. And most of the time, it's like a lot of them are mood based. How do I feel at the time when I listen to it? Because I go through playlists that he released like 4 months ago. I'm like, why didn't I add this to my playlist? You know, I think it's a point in time and a mood thing. So some of the earlier ones I just played, which I'll probably loop back in a little bit, are ones that I just picked out, you know, last couple of days. But yeah, thank you. Well, thanks to him, because it's all free and I can use it without being taken down on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, you name it, Instagram, and TikTok. V, happy Saturday. How's it going? Good to see you. Mark, that zero gets me. All good from the UK. Hey, yeah. How are you doing, Mark? Thanks again for the sub. Appreciate it. Chicago, Samurai. Hello from Chicago. Hey, how's it going? Hello from Minneapolis. How are you doing today? Toxic, 10 p.m. in France. Wow. France, 10 p.m. Okay, so 7 hours. Okay. All right, now I know. Man, thanks for tuning in so late. Hopefully you had a good Saturday, maybe just winding down. Takano, anyone know a way to split audio, to split app audio, watching two videos at the same time? I don't. I don't. I'm not even sure what you're talking about. I think app audio, I don't. I think you have two apps open at the same time, I'm assuming. No, I don't. Tuxit, working on OpenSense today. All right, so is this a recent change to OpenSense? Have you always planned on OpenSense? Was it due to, you know, the changes in PFSense? Tell me more, Tuxit. Super curious on why you're choosing why you're choosing OpenSense. Can't talk today. Can I ever? Not really. Chicago Samurai, recursive DNS server with Pi-hole. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, for sure. Still a little bit foggy on the Unbound piece. I know you're going out and querying root DNS servers directly, but I'm still trying to figure out, like, why would I do that? And I think it's just for privacy. So you're not sending then your queries to some other server, which then ultimately is going to query your root servers. But yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. It was a good tutorial, end to end. Penguin Airlines, yeah, PC Geek is a good boy. Yeah, he is. MK, hi, that's tough. Hi, how are you? But a lot of M's and H's. 2003, hi. I'm gonna go with hi. How are you? Andrew, I'm going with Andrew. Converting a Python spaghetti code into Django REST API, fun times. Hey, it sounds like maybe fun. I don't know. I enjoy refactoring code. Sometimes I've done it a bunch in my past, but I haven't. I've only done a tiny bit of Python, but the idea is still the same. Yeah, I've done a bunch of refactoring and converting over to newer frameworks a lot of times, and sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's fun because it's like, okay, you know, a lot of the logic or business logic is kind of here. We just need to organize it a little bit better and then do it the Django way or do it the whatever Express way or whatever you're using as the new target framework. So, it sounds pretty complicated. Hopefully you have some, unit tests wouldn't help, but functional tests would help. And so that's where functional tests are help out, right? Because you can refactor the code. Does the functional test break? Yeah, it breaks. Okay, the code's not doing what it did before, but that's it's pretty advanced, and that's a lot of work. Sorry, got a cough. There we go. Let's see. Nigelite. I'm going with Nigelite. Hello. Still trying to get PCI pass-through to work, Tim. VM crashes on boot with Novu. Scheduled errors. Not sure. Not the forum to troubleshoot. I know not the forum to troubleshoot. No, it's okay. Exalty, hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. No, totally fine. Come here with your questions. Just understand that I'm going to give you pointers because I don't know your system, and maybe those pointers will help you with where to look. So PCI pass-through, you really didn't explain what type of device you're passing through, but I'll start before that. So a couple of things. I mean, you've probably already done this, but you want to make sure your CPU supports IOMMU or pass-through, and then your motherboard supports it as well. And then on top of that, you got to make sure it's enabled. So there's the 3 requirements so far that you need, even before you can even do it. And the next piece is then, if I assume you're using Proxmox, I'm going to guess Proxmox because you're posting here. Then it's to enable it in Proxmox, and that's a simple couple of commands. Then you got to reboot. So there's 4 things. 3 things are hard requirements. The fourth thing is something you need to do in order to enable it at the operating system level. Then, after all that, you should be able to pass through PCI devices. And I'll just talk about generic PCI devices. So if you have a network card or you name it, any PCI device that's not a video card, because that's in a class of its own, you should be able to pass that device through to one of your guest machines and then see it there. You might need to modify the machine type too. I can't remember. But I have a list of stuff that you typically need to do, I think in one of my Proxmox videos, the 11 things I do. And so if that all works and then, the device can see it, you're good. If it's a video card, there's a whole nother list of things you need to do. And I'm assuming it's a video card because, normal PCI devices are pretty easy. And so everything I just talked about probably didn't apply. So if it is a video card, there are a lot more things that you need to do. And I don't mean to refer you to video, but I will refer you to the video's documentation, which gives you a bunch of pointers as well as your configuration or my configuration for my virtual machines when I pass a GPU through in Proxmox. And so I would advise just taking a peek at it and compare line by line. I mean, sure, some GUIDs aren't going to be the same, but most of those properties need to be there. Hard drive stuff, that's all going to be, whatever your preference is. And like I said, GUIDs, IDs are going to be unique to your own setup. But everything else needs to be set. And so if you're doing it through the GUI, so if you're checking checkboxes and picking things from drop-down forms, I would just recommend that you look at the config that gets generated when you do that, because it's easy to overlook some of the flags, like I did about a month ago or 2 months ago. I can't remember. Time is weird right now. But when I set up my OneU servers, I was like, yeah, I got this. I'm going to GPU pass through. I've done this so many times. Don't even need to look. And, it turns out I do need to look because I missed one checkbox in the UI, which ended up being a flag in config that needs to be on. And it was for like PCI Express device or something like that. But anyways, hopefully that kind of helps or gives you some pointers or somewhere to look. And if you need more help than that, like ping me in Discord or something. We can definitely take it out. Home Lab New, I play Stream Beats sometimes when I'm working on stuff. Yeah, I do too. I did last night, for sure. Thank you for the link. Chicago Samurai, that's solid. Congrats. Thank you. Yeah. Penguin Airlines. Oh wow, the bot realizes it's a command even when it's not in the first character. I think PC Geek or iLoot asked for that. I think both. I think over time, and it's been in my backlog. Yeah, but yeah, I just it's pretty easy to do. You just look at the whole message, and there's a function and helper method hanging off of strings for JavaScript, and you just say .includes your function or your command, and then that returns a Boolean, true or false. So if it appears anywhere in that sentence now. Fair game. I might have only done it for Discord. I can't remember. Maybe you can try bananas in between. Who knows? I can't remember. I'll have to look at that code. But yeah, just for the Discord command. There's the answer right there. All right. Tuxit, question. Best self-hosted password keeper, maybe Bitwarden or Passbolt. What's your opinion? Oh yeah. I don't have a strong opinion on this other than what I've seen been recommended and used by the larger community or the community at large, which is Bitwarden. I mean, most people go with Bitwarden, and that's not to say it's better than Passbolt. It just seems more popular, at least in my circle. Hey, Midwest Dev. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. All right, I'm also a Midwest Dev. Welcome. Just in general, I live in the Midwest. But yeah, I mean, I can't say that I've done a lot of stuff with Bitwarden. Like I keep wanting to try it out, but unfortunately, like I'm a part of teams and families that use other password managers, and I don't want to have multiple password managers. And in order for me to use one, I'd have to switch everyone where I'm a part of their team or family plan. So take that with a grain of salt. I'm only recommend Bitwarden because it's the one that I'm really familiar with as far as what it does as a product and what they stand for. Passbolt don't have any experience, so it's hard for me to recommend. So hopefully that helps out. Sotos. Hey, Sotos. Tier 1, 3 months, 3-month streak. Greetings from Netherlands. Hey, Sotos, how are you? Thank you so much. Man, thanks for the 3-month sub. Really appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. Penguin Airlines. Oh, gotcha. Docker ignore. All right, Docker ignore file. I like it. I remember this name. Full stack expense tracker from UI UX design database for my portfolio. Whoa, that's pretty awesome. Real quick, Carry Soul, or Carry Sole. I don't want to put any spins on it because usually I put some spins on it and I'm totally wrong. But thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Thank you. So Docker ignore, that makes me laugh every time because I think of like my Docker ignore file. But man, a full stack expense tracker from UI UX design to database for my portfolio. That sounds really awesome. And doing completely full stack sounds exactly what you're doing. So curious, like what choices you made for technology? You say from UI UX design to database. Yeah, what were your choices for UI, React, Vue, Angular? What were your choices for like middle tier stuff, like your APIs? You know, is that Express, Django, .NET? You know, and then UX, obviously. I mean, you probably did some design, but then are you using component libraries, Material UI, Bootstrap, and then going back to your databases? What'd you choose for, you know, your persistent storage, your databases? Did you go with Postgres, you know, Postgres, SQL, Microsoft SQL, Mongo? What'd you go with? Curious, because those are all interesting questions. I like to understand why people choose a certain path. Janarian. Oh, I use Bitwarden. Yeah, I know. That's gonna be the popular one for sure, especially in this channel. Doza des Ras. Hello from Romania. Hey, thank you. Hey, hello from the United States. Thanks for tuning in today. Hope it's not too late there. But thanks for coming in. HomeLab New, so much security news this week. Sudo PrivSec vulnerability, iOS 0 days patch to more. Yeah, for sure, man. For sure, yeah. It was the first iOS one where I kind of freaked out a little bit, and I grabbed every iOS device that in the house, and I was just like, update, you know. And I think that was like, what? I don't remember. That was like Thursday night or Wednesday night you'd mentioned it. I think it was Wednesday night. And then I just went through and just grabbed every device at 11 o'clock at night and said, update everything. But yeah, I don't think this is, you know, that seems uncommon now, but I don't think it's going to be uncommon moving forward. I mean, there's just way too many moving parts, you know, and too many companies are getting targeted, and you know, it's unfortunate, but I think this is going to be the new norm, you know, because it's hard to protect against everything, you know, and at the same time, yeah, it's unfortunate, but I don't think it's going to be uncommon moving forward. Boy, I'm upgrading my Discord music bot to use Docker. Nice. It's called LaneBot. If anyone is interested in adding it to their Discord, nice. Yeah. You know, where do I go with this one? Yeah, I think it's cool that you're developing your own bot. First, yeah, self promo. I get it, but whatever. That aside, you know, I've never found, and don't take this personal, but I've never found, you know, music bots to be. Let me preface this whole thing. It's awesome that you wrote the code. It's awesome that you can get it to run and it's going to be hosted and you can share it with people, all of that. I've just never found them to be that helpful. And maybe they are in your Discord server, who knows? And maybe you use it different than I use it, or I've used it in the past, but you know, jumping in a channel and listening to super low quality music through Discords, you know, audio has always just kind of left a bad feeling for me. And I'll just say that. And it has nothing to do with what you're doing. But, you know, I mean, how are you using it? You know, most Discord servers have a lower bit rate. And so, you know, listening to music through there has always just kind of been, you know, yeah, I don't know. It's like 120, you know, kilobits per second. So sometimes it's kind of just doesn't sound great. So maybe you found a way around it, or maybe, yeah, I don't know. I used a music bot in Discord before. I thought this is great. You know, you go into this channel, run a command, it'll find the YouTube video for you and it'll play it. But I was just kind of like, you know, it was definitely fun to add, but then I just, you know, on the Discord servers I ran, just didn't get a ton of use. But curious, maybe you've cracked it, and you know, I'll you know, I don't, not trying to be critical of music bots in Discord, but I'm genuinely curious if they get used. Because, yeah, like I said, added one to a Discord server a long time ago, never got used. And then that channel switched over to like music playlist channel where people would just post music that they like, and that got used a ton. You know, and it kind of flipped the paradigm to where it was just like, just let people post music that they like in this channel. And then if someone is scanning through that channel and they like the song, they'll just hit play. Rather than it being a voice channel where like music is always playing. Yeah, but curious. Toxic Glasses team, never wear lens. Yeah, I haven't either. But you know, I've only had glasses for about 3-4 years now. Maybe a little bit longer. I don't know. Time is weird right now. Home Lab New, update your iPhones, people. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, for sure. I saw your message too in Discord. I was like, ooh, I better do that. Techno, so far, the biggest benefit of contacts is the no fogging up with a mask. Yeah, for sure. And if your vision gets dirty, you just blink instead of trying to have to clean them off. If they are super dirty, then an eye drop, but they are at that point, you may not want to be cleaning them well. Yeah, good point. Real quick, Kremix EU, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. James Harris, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. So, you know, wearing masks now has made me realize like how much my glasses fog up. I mean, and then I have a big nose, and the way my mask goes, I can't always get the glasses like down here so that the air goes up. But yeah, not complaining, just super different. So yeah, most of the time when I have my mask on, I'm just like, all right, glasses are going in the pocket unless I absolutely need them. PC Geek, I hate not being able to see where I'm going in the cold. Yeah, I agree. And for me, it's like it's exactly that. When you're out in the cold, and sometimes when going inside and then breathing just the air and fogging it up. Toxic HUD from France, I saw that one already. Home Lab New, this is a major gripe with glasses. The number of times I couldn't even see oncoming traffic with glasses and a mask on. Now that's dangerous. Quentin, it's always DNS. Yeah, I don't know if it applies there, but I'm glad you used the emoji. These are probably out of order. Dex Vinyl, evening Tim. Hey Dex, how's it going? Takano, I got an anti-fog spray for my glasses, and they work super well. Never been able to put my glasses in the bathroom right after the shower. Oh yeah, anti-fog, another thing that would work out pretty well. Instant. What kind of performance do you get off your TrueNAS, Tim? Do you have video on how it's set up? Oh, yeah, I kind of have it set up. Let me grab a drink real quick. So yeah, I have a video on how it's set up. It's basically my how to virtualize TrueNAS. And so that's how I have it set up. I have it set up as a virtual machine on one of my virtual servers. It's changed hosts over time, but that really doesn't matter. And so I have it virtualized. I pass through an HBA controller to that guest machine, and that HBA controller is connected to a big disk array shelf. And so that disk array is pretty awesome. I only use 6 slots out of 24, so I'm wasting a lot of power right now. But you know, it works out fairly well. I do not have 10 gig Ethernet, and so you know, what kind of performance do I get? I can saturate gigabit, no problem. No problem at all. And you know, I don't have 10 gig right now because I don't have a need for it. Sure, there are times where I'm transferring 30 gigs where I'm like, you know, I wish this took, 5 seconds versus, 60. Probably a little longer, about a minute and a half, maybe-ish. But I don't have 10 gigs, so the performance is hard for me to gauge because I can saturate a gigabit link and no problem at all. And so then after that, it's kind of like, okay, what am I building for? If I ever switch to 10 gig, I'll be able to evaluate my performance a little bit better than there. But performance is more than good enough. I mean, there was a bug in, I think it's still there, and there's a bug in TrueNAS, and I think they're going to be fixing it come February, which is what, in one day? They're going to have a release which fixes and addresses a bug that's there in some network controllers that I think I'm affected by because it's virtualized. I hope they're addressing my issue too. They have identified the issue. They said they are fixing it, and it's with certain network controllers, but my network controller for that whole entire virtual machine is virtual. So, hopefully they look at it. Anyways, if I had 10 gig, I'd be able to do better performance testing than I do now, but I'm limited. I'm constrained. I'm constrained by network. Maybe in the future, if I go 10 gig, I'll be able to test a little bit more, but that's kind of how I have it set up instant. I have a video on how to actually virtualize it, but I don't have 10 gig, and I know 10 gig sounds so awesome, but it's cost prohibitive for me right now, to go and I know, and every individual piece of 10 gig isn't that expensive, and there are cheap options out there for a 10 gig, SFP switch, and then, all the adapters, and then 10 gig NICs. But, at the end of the day, they all add up. And so I'm in a holding pattern right now for 10 gig till I really, really need it, for sure. If I was doing iSCSI, and iSCSI storage, and all of my virtual machines, were in my disk array, I totally go for it. But that's not how I did my infrastructure. Hopefully that answers your question. HomeLab New, what can we say? We're all tech nerds with poor vision. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Penguin Airlines. So I'm glad I'm nearsighted right now, working from home. Yeah. I'm the same way. Yeah, it's easy to control. If I can control the distance of the things I'm looking at, totally fine. It's when I can't or have to move around a lot or look at anything far, it's kind of like where I start squinting a little bit. But even then, I could get by with it, but I was tired of doing this all the time. Because, this happens and other things happen. But yeah. Takano, what do you use to capture it for Plex? So this is probably going back to the antenna. So I have an HD home run network-based antenna. That's all it is. HD home run. It's a dual tuner, which has an input for your coax cable, and then has a dual tuner in there with, I think, an H.264 encoder, which it needs for Plex, and then a network cable. And then so, it converts the TV signal to a network stream, and then pipes it into Plex. And then from there, in Plex, I just use, just have a recorded TV library where they all dump into it. And so it works out really good. The only specialized thing you need is something like a HD home run. I have a hardware link down there. It's probably in there somewhere. If not, just Google HD home run. They have quad tuners now, which I'm like, oh man, wish it would have got a quad tuner. But at the same time, very few times am I recording, two over-the-air broadcasts and want to watch another. Because most of the time, I don't watch anything live. I watch everything recorded and then skip over commercials. They have some commercial detection and even commercial skip that works. Well, commercial detection and removal works really good. Commercial skip has not worked for me yet, so I don't know what it is, but for some reason it does not allow me to skip the commercials. Skip intro works pretty okay, which is kind of cool too. They're basically grabbing a whole bunch of Netflix-like features that people are used to. When you watch a series and you see the intro and you're like, okay, I've seen this intro 3 times, like I can skip it now. They've added something like that, but they've also added that feature to commercials now where it can detect those commercials and skip them. And so I had to make a choice a while ago, like, am I gonna do commercial detection and remove commercials, or am I gonna do commercial detection and skip? At first I was doing remove commercials because I was like, this is so cool. And then I realized I'm wasting so much power to re-encode this whole entire thing to cut out commercials so I don't have to hit fast forward like 4 times and skip 30 seconds. And that's where I was hoping com skip or commercial skip would actually work, but it hasn't worked for me yet. I don't know. If you have commercial skip working in Plex, yeah, let me know, because has not worked once for me yet, ever. Intro skip works, and commercial removal works, but not the skip piece. So yeah, anyways, I've been doing it for a long time. I love that stuff. Penguin Airlines, yeah. Yeah, Docker ignore. Yeah, you should update iOS to 14.4. That was HomeLab News PSA the other day. Do it for sure. Without a question, yeah. Electro Llama. Has anyone told you look like Pedro Pascal, the Mandalorian? That is a new one. No, That is totally a new one. No one's told me that, so that's a new one. Usually I get Johnny Depp. If you look at any of my YouTube videos, most of the top comments are like, this dude looks like Johnny Depp, or this dude's like, I can't believe it, Johnny Depp's like teaching me about technology. You know, a lot of fun ones. And I'm not complaining, because that's a huge compliment as far as looks are concerned. You know, personality and everything else, that's, you know, personal choices, that's a way different question. I'll take the looks piece, but people say it a ton, and you know, I laugh at it, because I'm like, this, you know, if this is the worst thing that people are saying, they've said worse in comments, but you know, I'll take it. But anyways, no, didn't know it. That's a new one, and I know what he looks like now, because yeah, you know, I can spoil. I'm not going to spoil too much. I mean, the thing's been out for months, but you do see his face, so that was a spoiler. But if you haven't seen that by now, yeah, sorry, it's been months. Spectral Gaming, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Home Lab News, some extremely significant security updates against actively exploited vulnerabilities there. Yeah, a lot of remote execution stuff. Whenever you see remote execution and it's a 0-day, you're just kind of like, whoa. But yeah, I like I said, I heeded. I took your advice that night, and I grabbed every iOS device in here and powered on my Apple TV and updated them all, because I was like, ooh. Even though they were all powered off and not doing anything, I was just like, I'm doing it anyways. Docker Ignore, downloading now, thank you. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you're on an iOS device, yeah, why wouldn't you update? I don't know. I appreciate updates. This one is definitely important, and you should do it right away. And even if it means you're watching on your mobile device now, yeah, do it for sure. You know, and you have battery life and it's plugged in and all that stuff, go for it. If not, do the download and queue it up and do it right away as soon as you plug in. For sure. I usually stay up on, you know, I'm pretty up to date on my updates. I look for updates before Apple even tells me that they're there, but this one was, you know, came out really quick, and they basically just said to do it. I do the same thing for the App Store too. I pulled a refresh on the App Store like 15 times, and then install updates for apps, even apps I haven't even opened in a while. I don't know. You know, Apple keeps hiding all of that stuff further and further down, you know, the funnel, because they don't want you to search for updates. They want, you know, because when you not insider information, but I built iOS apps, and you know, when you roll out iOS apps, you can set a window and you can say, hey, target, you know, 100% over 7 days, right? And so Apple will slowly release your app over 7 days to different users. But the way you circumvent all of that is just pull the refresh on the app list. You used to do it a different way, but that will override that. So if someone manually looks for an update to an app and it's out there, then you get the update. Well, I've been doing that forever, and I'm sure Apple's just like, you know, I mean, it's kind of why they hit it a little bit more. It's also the reason why they don't show you app updates on Apple TV. I don't think they ever want to show you it. They just want you to always think you have the latest version, and it's not something you should be concerned about, which is what they do on Apple TV. You have no idea, you know, no idea. The App Store updates, yeah, no clue. Dex Vinyl, I got a TerraMaster NAS, and in the last few weeks, it seems to be taking the internal network down. If I leave it plugged in more than a few days, any ideas? Ooh. No, so I don't know about TerraMaster specifically, but I have had bad NICs before in servers, in devices, in PCs. I've had bad NICs in them before. I don't know what the cause, or, you know, if it was software or hardware, but I have seen it to where those NICs will start generating so much traffic that they'll basically flood the whole network, and it's basically like a DOS on your own network, kind of like what you're talking about right now. And it took me a long time to track down which device it was and which NIC it was. And I quickly just pulled it out and threw it away. I'm like, it was a gigabit NIC. Might have been Intel or Broadcom. Brand doesn't matter, but it was, easy to replace. On TerraMaster, this NAS, I don't know if that NIC is easy to replace, but it might be something worth doing. I don't know. I don't know anything about this NAS, and if you can even change the NIC in it. But if you can, try it, because I've seen that before. I've also seen the same thing on network cables too. Random, like when I did tech support stuff, sometimes we'd find a Cat3 cable plugged into something it shouldn't have been plugged into, and that generated tons of errors. But that was only, I think, local to that device and to that switch port. And that was a long time ago. So operating on old principles, and you probably won't find a Cat 3 cable anywhere. But two, quick and easy fixes are, change ports, change cables, and then change NIC if you can. Then if it continues and you've changed all of those, maybe it's software. I mean, that's another thing too. Quick fix too. Can you update the software for this thing? Don't know anything about this device, but just things I would do in general troubleshooting if I ran into this. Software updates, NIC, network cable, and then port on the switch. Those are the things I would do. So hopefully that helps. Just some things to look at. Maybe things you didn't consider before. Sometimes the easiest fix is the one most overlooked, and a cable. Just try a different cable. I had noise in this XLR cable for like 3 weeks of streams, and I did everything else besides try a different cable. I didn't have another XLR cable, but I got hundreds of network cables. But the point is, I overlooked the cable because I just assume, cables, they're binary. They work or they don't. No, there's a huge variation in between, working and not working. And so I don't know. Maybe that helps. HomeLab new, good stuff. Make sure to patch your iPads, Apple TVs, and keep an eye out for Mac updates too. Yeah, I did all those. I took the HomeLab new security advice. I did all of those. I've been searching for a Mac OS update. They haven't released one yet. At least this was yesterday, 4 o'clock, because I keep looking because I'm having other problems with Big Sur. I don't even want to get into it. I will get into it a little bit, but for some reason, Windows Server and Big Sur is taking up 30% CPU, and it's driving me crazy, And you think, well, just kill that process. Well, that's basically like your windowing system to the whole entire Mac OS. So I can't do that, and it's kind of driving me crazy. Anyways, I didn't see any updates for that. I think they released an update for what was it? I was doing some app development. Xcode build tools. So they released an update for Xcode build tools yesterday too, which I assume was part of this. And I assume they'll patch then all of my, the Xcode build tools. They probably are going to patch, or that did patch, the iOS simulators too. So anyways, and this is all from Safari, I think. So yeah, it's scary stuff. Toxic, have you tried paperless? I've tried. I mean, that's a broad question. I remember companies trying to go paperless 10 years ago, and the journey to go paperless generated more paper. No, but totally paperless. I think I am. I can't think of one thing where I have to even use paper. I mean, all my note keeping's digital, shopping list, grocery list, calendar, digital. I mean, my wife has her own system. It's a different system. It uses paper in there somewhere, but it's usually scrap paper. So I think that's what you're asking. I've been pretty paperless. I mean, there's one time, a couple times a year where someone sends me something where I have to sign it. I usually just try to, convert that to digital and send it back in digital form. Yeah, I don't know. That's a huge question. Tell me more. Hey, MJ16, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Docker Ignore, I updated my iPad, but I guess there is no update for M1 MacBooks now, right? Yeah, so there aren't any ones for the Intel-based MacBooks either. So I don't think it's out yet. I mean, if you do a search for updates on Mac OS and it says no updates, there aren't any updates. But I haven't seen it for the Intel-based one either. Super jelly, you have an M1 version. Takano, ouch, the spray is double on Amazon. I'll post a link. Yeah, thank you, dude. Electro Llama, I'm getting into RF communications because of my new job. It's neat stuff. Yeah, there's a whole different world inside of radio and RF. It's super interesting stuff. I don't know enough about it. I know what frequency my access points operate at or the range that they do. Other than that, I have no clue. But it's super interesting. There's a whole world inside of there. Leon Zola, Techno Tim, do you think that Kubernetes plus Rancher would be useful with a single, or would it be better for clustering? Ox Astrid, hey, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Ox Astrid, I know a different, just plain old Astrid. Maybe it's him getting ready to troll me. But Leon Zola, do I think that Kubernetes and Rancher would be useful with a single, or would it be better for clustering? So yeah, that's a fair question. That's a good question. We'll take out the multi-cluster and single cluster and multi-node and single node, and just go with, how does Rancher help? Rancher really just prevents you from writing a ton of YAML. So if you're comfortable with Kubernetes and you're comfortable with YAML and your YAML deployments and all your resources, I mean, once you generate a few, you can kind of generate the rest, but you have to keep track of it, and it's a lot of repeating itself. And you're familiar with using a terminal and your kube control commands. And if you're familiar with all of that and doing all of those things, you may not need Rancher. I will say though that even with GCP and Azure and you name it, GCP, Google Cloud, Azure and AWS, they still give you GUIs or UIs on top of Kubernetes, and that's super interesting for troubleshooting, for dashboards, and just getting a quick high-level overview of your pods and how they're doing. Are they healthy? When's the last time they rebooted? And so if you're not doing those things in one of those public clouds, you don't have a lot of options besides the Kubernetes dashboard, but I don't know if they're developing that anymore. You don't have a lot of options for managing then Kubernetes with a UI on premise or outside of a public cloud, in a private cloud. And so that's where Rancher helps out. Now, it has lots of features and it does lots of things, and you can manage multi-cluster, you can manage a single cluster, you can manage a single node, and you can manage a single cluster, single node. Would it be useful? It depends on how comfortable you are with Kubernetes. If you're not comfortable with Kubernetes at all, I'd say it's a good first step, because then you get to see, you get a GUI to at least kind of start to understand some concepts. And then when you move on, or if you decide that, hey, I want to learn more about Kubernetes and I want to start doing this the DevOps way, or whatever way, the terminal way, however you want to coin that phrase, that's where you start to use kube control commands, and you start to use the terminal. And you'll find if you start to make that switch, it gets a lot more familiar. And it's nice because, like I said, like a lot of your resource files are YAML, and those YAML files are repeatable. And so I think that Rancher is it plays in a few areas. It's great for learning. It's great intro. Then you'll hit this learning curve where you're like, okay, I understand Kubernetes, but then you might need to do multi-cluster or import clusters or manage more clusters than the one you're on now, and then that gets, kind of tough. Multiple kube control or multiple kube config files, and you name it. So that was a lot of stuff that you may or may not be familiar with. But I'll just put it this way: if you aren't familiar with Kubernetes and you want to get started, Rancher or Portainer is a good way to do that. If you want a UI, if you don't want a UI, K3S or any Kubernetes cluster is great to get started with and learn kube control and learn all your commands and terminals and how to, construct YAML. That'll work too. So hopefully that helps. Hey, Dr. Control, Dr. CTL, Dr. CTL, has resub tier 1, 3 month streak. Dude, thank you. Great content, man. Awesome to have a nice and warm 30-90 now in the winter. Tell me about it. I had to turn on the ceiling fan. You can kind of see it's going up there. I'm like, whoo, 39 is kind of toasty. It is toasty. It is toasty for sure. In the summertime, it's going to get pretty warm in here. We'll see. I might have to, sun's out, guns out. Not that I have any guns. But yeah, thanks for the sub. Appreciate it. 3 month streak. Thank you so much. Leon, single Raspberry Pi 4. Oh gosh, now I didn't see that correction. If it's a single Raspberry Pi 4, I would just go plain old Kubernetes at first. I would go K3S until it becomes painful. And then if you're like, this is painful, I need something to help me manage this. I need a UI to help me manage this. And then maybe Rancher is the one that will do that. But if you're using a single Raspberry Pi 4 and you're, and you want to install Kubernetes on it, probably with K3S, go for it. Then if you're like totally lost, like you don't understand kube control and commands and resource files, try out Rancher. It's easy to revert from K3S if you want. You just destroy that namespace and a few other things, and it'll be gone. Electro Llama. Harris Heller's good. I heard his stuff on Pretzel Rocks. Oh, nice. I didn't know he was playing his stuff there, too. Nice. Yeah. Dr. Ignore, thanks again. No problem. All good. It's literally my job. Yeah, Home Lab new. Cyborg Onum. Attempting to set up a new server today. Switch from an ancient DDR3 platform to DDR4 from 2015, so it's already 100 watts down. Exactly. Yeah, you nailed it. Cyborg, you nailed it. And that's why I too made the switch, from an older platform to a newer platform, was to save power and to set me up for the future. But I did the same thing too. And I noticed the same thing right away. I replaced 2 servers with 2 more 1U servers and saved almost 200 watts total. So it was a good day when I turned it on and I saw that working. Even, I won't say full tilt, but normal load right now when I go and look at my meter, I'm still 150 watts less than what I was using before. So yeah, I totally agree. And it's, I have more compute than I did now at less power. So yeah, for sure. I hear you. Cause yeah, a lot of people on my 1U server, they're like, should have just got a refurb thing from 2015. I'm like, but that's what I was trying to avoid. I think it happened this morning. I basically respond with exactly that with some more, context. But yeah, let's see. Instant, 10 hour 30 in France and Belgium now. Oh, 10:30 at night. All right, it's getting late there. I appreciate you hanging out. Cyborg, I'm an alias from Discord. Oh, nice. Did not know that either. Chicago Samurai, can anyone help me with 10 gigabit NICs in a Dell server with Proximox? Yeah, what's the problem? Mihan Official, can you tell us more about UPS? Do I need one? Why? What would I look for? So Mihan Official, why would you need a UPS in general? Well, there's a couple of reasons. I mean, UPS have multi-function, right? One, they can provide uninterruptible power, right? The power goes off in your house, gives you a little bit more time. And I don't want to say it gives you, unlimited power or anything like that, but it gives you more time. Time for what? Not time to run longer, but time to shut down safely. And so that's what I think people need to, if they're thinking about a UPS, yes, it is, for me, it's helped smooth out power interruptions. We have the power flicker here every now and then, for half a second. Nothing went down. We have times where there's surges, right? And so if that UPS can detect that, which they should, it will switch over to battery power real quick. It can protect from brownouts, right? So not enough power, and it can switch over if it can detect it and switch over to battery power or whatever it needs to do. I don't know the technical stuff behind it. I just understand why I use it and why I choose to put one in my rack. And then the last piece is, it provides backup power. And, I said this already, but you just want to have enough backup power to shut down things safely. And maybe, if it's a whole entire rack, that's a big battery. And for me, on my rack, I get, I think 12 minutes. So I get 12 minutes of power before it's then going to just shut off the whole entire device. So I have 12 minutes to shut everything down safely, or I have 10 minutes to roll the dice to see if it's going to come back on before a scramble, in the last 2 minutes to shut things down safely. Because you don't want hard shutdowns like pull the power on my NAS or pull the power on my servers or anything like that, because corruption and all the things they've been telling you for years and years and years as to why you don't just pull the plug on your machine. And I'm sure there's use cases I missed. But then, if you do have something, you should do your diligence too then and ensure that at, some point, when you have downtime and it's running on battery power, that you have some kind of automation to shut those things down. Because then otherwise you're in no better spot than you were before you got a UPS. I mean, a little bit, but I'm saying in this situation, if the power is going to go off for 10 minutes and your battery lasts 5, after that 5, it's just like you pulled the power on it. So And that one's a tough one, you know, scheduling the shutdowns for everything, you know, and then also bringing them back up when it's done, and especially automating all that stuff and having it happen automatically. It's tough. It's tough. So anyways, I went on a long tangent about UPS. You guys know this stuff. Maybe Mihan was not so familiar, so hopefully that helps. Tuxit. OpenSense seems more user-friendly. VPN plugins, cool GUI, but it's a personal preference. Many prefer pfSense. Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah, I ran OpenSense for a while too, for sure. Penguin Airlines, not on Android. This and Bluetooth audio are big problems for me as well. Gotta have my PC. Yeah, for sure. TSC, working on a remote HA proxy in the cloud, which would request over IPsec to my home lab. I like it. Dex Vinyl. Did I hear Django? Yeah, you did hear Django. I think someone earlier was doing some refactoring on some Python code and moving over to Django. Home lab new. Wait, Mark just moved the ESXi to Proxmox with a Grid K2 with vGPUs. Yeah, was that a question or a statement? Because it sounds awesome. Home lab new. Is that canned coffee? Django? I don't know. No, it's a framework. I think that's what you're asking about. Toxic. And sorry for my my English. French people sucks. Bad school learning for English. Hey, no, your English is totally fine. My English is terrible. So don't feel bad about your English if it's not your primary language. Yeah, no. Thank you for, having the guts to speak up and try to speak English. I appreciate it. The legends never die. Hi, Tim. How are you? How is your day going? It's going pretty good. It's going pretty good so far. Yeah, I agree on the English. So yeah, it was perfectly fine English. Yeah, absolutely. Chicago Samurai. I have a Dell R710, put a 10 gig card in it. The iDRAC sees it. Dell Power Connect 5524 switch sees it. I do no shut on it, but I can't ping the interface from the server. What am I doing wrong? Yeah, I think that was directed at Home Lab New, but I am not sure. I'm not sure if you can't ping it. I mean, what happens when you go into that interface on the OS? Like, when you boot up, does it show up? Is it added? Does it have an IP address? So instead of going from the outside in, what about the inside out? Genorian, does the switch see the MAC address as a 10 gig card? Oh yeah, good call. Oh yeah. The auto sensing, yeah. So yeah, I've had to do similar things in the past where I had to actually set the speed and duplex manually or to trigger something to happen. Penguin Airlines, time is normal. We are the weird ones. That is true. So true. I am weird right now with time. How about that? That's a better statement. Fair. Bigsby. Hey, Tim. Hi, Chad. Hey, how's it going? Carousel. You sound like Sukuno. I don't know who that is. Another person. So I sound like someone. I look like someone. I'm all for it. Very kind voice. Thank you. I don't know. I'm just always been this way. I appreciate it. Carousel. Takano. Test banana. Yeah. Banana works midstream. I like it. So I did do it for my bot. All of them. Nigelite. Techno Tim, thanks for the pointers on PCI Passthrough. I will definitely follow up in Discord. Much appreciated. Using your videos already running on Plex with an R620, on Proxmox with a P400. Nice. Yeah. Awesome. So you got Plex transcoding working. Fantastic. Let's see. Docker Ignore. Probably tech stack would be Figma, Tailwind. Ooh, those sound new to me. React. All right. Familiar with that. Express. Yep. Familiar with that. GraphQL. Good call. Didn't name that one. Familiar with that. Postgres. Yep. And Terraform. Using TypeScript. All right. I like this stack. I don't know enough about Figma and Tailwind, but I need to look into it. But everything else on there, yeah. Solid choices. Good choices, Docker Ignore. And Docker for sure. All right. Solid. Super solid. Yeah, I like it. I like your software architecture there. Home Lab New RIP music bots. Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent on that one, but I was just kind of like, okay, like I didn't I just haven't found a ton of use for them, and maybe I'm just not understanding the use case. Super cool. And a lot of people like to add them to their servers, but I've never seen them really be used. HomeLab New, or sorry, Aicha. What do you think of self-hosted VPN? For sure, 100%. Yeah, what do I think about it? Absolutely. Like if you need to get back into home or your home infrastructure or do something over the wire, yeah, absolutely do it. Yeah, absolutely. Instead of exposing stuff through your firewall, yeah, it's a lot safer. There are some things you may have to expose, but be sure you're doing it over SSL, proper ports, firewall rules are right, test them, make sure. But if you don't need to, absolutely, VPN, self-hosted. So I assume you mean self-hosted VPN at home and to get back in. Yeah, absolutely. I would totally do it. Let me find it. I always hit this like weird part in my music where I'm kind of like, I'm not into that right now. Anyways, I'll go here. So Aicha, hopefully that answers your question. HomeLab New, to be honest, I never really noticed a lower quality music in Discord before, but I'm no audiophile. Yeah, I have 120 kilobits per second, per second. It sounds like, yeah, old school MP3s where, highs get cut off and lows get cut off. So it just sounds, I don't know, it doesn't sound great. And then maybe, I don't know, maybe they're even lower when I did it way back in the day. But OpenVPN or WireGuard can do the job. Yeah, for sure. Pinches, I'm going with that. Is there anyone in here that would be able to help me configure WireGuard? Been struggling for days now. Yeah. What's the problem? Cyborg, how do you properly benchmark my file system in Linux? I want to test the differences between ZFS with and without cache example. There are tests you can do. There are absolutely tests you can do. I don't know them off the top of my head. But Tom Lawrence System, he has some tests that he does. So he does some tests, I think, local on the system, and he does tests over the network too. So I don't have him. Check out Lawrence Systems. He's in just like do TrueNAS performance test, and I'm sure he's the first result. Aicha, yep, my public IP would be exposed anyways. Yeah. I use PyVPN, everything installed, but unable to get my phone to connect. Interesting. Port is forwarded, etc. But I feel like something in my config must be wrong. Yeah, it must be. I know WireGuard will allow you to connect to, that device even locally. But are you doing it over data, so an external network and coming in that way? Are you absolutely sure you have port forwarding working right? And so you have the right ports forwarded to the right client. Are those both working okay? Instant, LOL, I can saturate my 1 gigabit, no problem. I love how you said that with an almost movie star voice. One day, I will send you some SFP Plus cards and long roll of OM3 to fix that lack of 10 gigabit. Yeah. You like that? Yeah. I mean, I can. That's my only, that's my bottleneck right now. But I will say 99.9999, I'll say that with a lot of points on the end. I'm not doing large file transfers. And that's for me personally, because I don't use iSCSI and virtual machines and remote storage for my hypervisor. For me, that's the only use case is like, hey, this camera right here, has 50 gigs of stuff and I need to throw it on my NAS. And that's the only time where I'm like, well, but usually I have a process around it. So it doesn't even affect me that much. Because usually at that point when I'm done recording on there, I'm going to do something else. So I just kick that off before I do something else. So I worked around it. Would it be nice? Absolutely. But man, I mean, we complain about Apple having dongles. For me to go to 10 gig, I got to have dongles and all kinds of dongles. And I know they're not dongles, they're transceivers and they have more technical names and they're really cool and techy. But I feel like that's what I'll end up doing is buying a bunch of dongles to get to 10 gig. And then, one day, something else changes and then I don't need my dongles anymore. I know they're not dongles. Bear with me. But thank you. I definitely appreciate it. Yeah. HomeLab New, is your phone on internal network and have you remembered to port forward? Yeah, you guys are on it. And has the IP changed? DNS, you guys are all over that. Crimex, what's the background thing at the bottom? The background thing at the bottom, if you're talking about all of this, so this is just a bar, and this is my social stuff, and then this is just a little flipping kind of metric that shows, it's just a little, event-based metric that shows, I think, last sub, last follow, and last bits. So that's last bits, that's the little bit icon, and then the value. And then this one is last follow, and then the name. And then the next one is last sub, and then the name. And then, even the streak too. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question. Oh, I got really chilly in here. I'm like, hopefully the air conditioning didn't kick on. My compressor would like explode or something. Toxic, but it's great to encrypt your communication on shared Wi-Fi or access on your home LAN from anywhere. Totally agree. Home Lab new. Also, if you're using UFW, did you set it up before installing PyVPN? If you started using UFW after setting up PyVPN, then there are conflicts. If you already had, your firewall rules set before installing PyVPN, the PyVPN installer acts different to avoid those conflicts. Awesome. Penguin Airlines 10 gig fam holding. Yeah, I'm in holding pattern for it. Only for all the reasons I said before. Not that there aren't use cases for it, but my use case is slim, and it's cost prohibitive to do all that to transfer the twice a week I transfer 50 gigs to my NAS. It's expensive. Soda Bomb. Any thoughts on building a nice desktop when having other crappy laptops RDPing into it? One quick, I love Teslas. Thanks for the follow, appreciate it. And I think I missed one. Julo Pookie, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. So any thoughts on building a nice desktop than having other crappy laptops RDPing into it? Yeah, why not? But then I would argue, why stop there? Why not put it in a server? Yeah, obviously you probably still want to use it and sit down and use it. But I have virtual desktops in my infrastructure now that I remote into when I'm elsewhere and not here. So I don't remote into my full-blown workstation here. I'll remote into one of those and do stuff from there. In general, yeah, it sounds like a great idea. I mean, I don't know that I would go out and buy crappy laptops specifically to do this. If you get some secondhand ones or ones that are given to you, yeah, absolutely, why not? The only caution I would say is to, just make sure that the resolution is high enough, because you just have a bad experience. You find an old air quotes, your words, not mine, old crappy laptop, that only does 720p, you're not going to have the greatest experience. Your mouse is going to be this big, and icons are going to be gigantic, and you can't scale that past whatever the resolution is on the monitor. Obviously, you'll have, depending on how crappy the laptop is, it can vary. But then it just depends. Would I personally do it? I don't know, because with that air quotes, crappy laptop comes all kinds of other things. Like, okay, it's got a slow hard drive. Sure, it'll boot up slow. And, well, maybe I'll replace it with an SSD. And so you drop some money there. And then, the battery, I get 20 minutes off it. Well, I can find a secondhand one on Amazon for 20, 30 bucks. Okay, there's 20, 30 bucks. And then you start investing in this crappy thing to make it work like the thing you want it to work like. And, you may be let down. Anyways, I would try it. If you have one, yeah, absolutely do it. But would I go out and seek out and buy some secondhand thing to do it? I don't know. Because I can RDP from things that aren't a crappy laptop, like a phone or a tablet or things like that too. So, you might have a tablet that's good enough to do some of those things too. Hey, Vinny's Dism, thanks for the follow, appreciate it, welcome. Aicha, what about the ISP can collect my data? Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, absolutely they do. And Sprouts, 92, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Pinches, to be honest, I don't even know what UFW is. I installed PyVPN and DietPy installer on a fresh install, smiley face. I think it's, it's just a firewall. It's just a firewall. It's a certain type of firewall. Inkfaust. Hey Tim, I'm late today. Hope I've not missed too much. Yeah, not too much. Oh, I got timestamps now. That's interesting. I can tell how far behind I am. Yeah, Inkfaust, good to see you again. Let's see. Aicha, yes, just change your ISP DNS. There you go. Yeah, so if you change your ISP's DNS, I mean, they're only getting half of the picture. They still get half of the picture though, right? And so it's not that hard for the ISP to then do reverse lookups on the IP to see the domain. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, absolutely. I split that stuff up too. Like my ISP, there's no way around getting internet from them unless I switch providers. But they don't need my DNS information, and so I send that somewhere else. But at the same time, they're well aware of that, and they can probably do reverse lookups on every single, and probably do reverse lookups on every single IP that you you request, for sure. Idonbyte. Hey, how's it going? Command not found, so I'm guessing it's not installed. Idonbyte. I am watching your Proxmox video. So helpful. Hey, thank you, appreciate it. Tuxit, so I'm not sure if they collect any data though. Oh yeah, everyone collects data. Everyone does. Well, depends. Do they keep it or collect it? I mean, I think by law some places have to collect it. Yeah, I won't even go into that. I mean, there's all kinds of regulations. Depends on who it is. It's how they use it. I think that's important. And when and will they won't use it. That I think is really important too. And then whether or not they do, obviously. But I would caveat that with sometimes they have to for legal reasons, depending on where they are. HomeLab New, you basically cannot hide from your ISP unless you're on a purpose-built third-party VPN like PIA or similar. If you host your own external VPN server, then you are hiding from your ISP, but not your hosting provider. Yeah. So if you're gonna host your own VPN outside, I mean, think about it. I mean, you are purchasing. Let's say you purchase something in AWS, and that's going to be your proxy for VPN to get outside. And so from home, you proxy to that VPN. You know, you connect to that VPN. You proxy all your requests out of there. I mean, if you're paying for that service in AWS, I mean, they got your credit card. I mean, so they can link it back to you or someone or some way. So, I mean, it can all be tracked back. Like that's not doing that one extra hop. Isn't hiding you as much as you think it is. So it's absolutely not hiding you from ISPs or anything like that. Well, maybe from your ISP from knowing where you're going, except for this one place. But at the end of the day, someone's going to know then where those requests go out and tie it back to your system. I mean, I guess from your ISP, then yeah, I guess it would all go to one place. But yeah, as HomeLab News says, your hosting provider now has that information. So someone will have it, for sure. Techno Tim, just want to say hey, and that you seem to be a celebrity in my house. No way. No. Pinot Noir Superstar, how's it going? Specifically, my 1.5-year-old, she knows your face and and when I ask her if she wants to watch the show, she says, Tim, well done, sir. Also, hey from Wisconsin, hey, how's it going? Sorry about the loss last week. I think the Packers lost. I think they did. I don't know. I don't follow sports, but someone I know does, and they said they did, so sorry for your loss. But hey, yeah, that's awesome. Gohaku, yeah, Gohaku-san. Hey, Gohaku, show love, 100 bits. Thank you so much. Hi, Techno Tim, really enjoyed your last stream. Thank you so much. Oh man, tell me about what I did so I can make all streams like that. So I appreciate it, Gohaku. I'm glad you're back. Thank you so much. Oh man, a couple of follows in there. Unacceptable condition. I like it. Thanks for follow. Appreciate it. Stupak. Thanks for follow. Appreciate it. Instead of Tupac, it's Stupak. I like it. Thanks for follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Aicha. Guys, what would you suggest? UFW, VPN, and finally a reverse proxy? Or should I switch? I'm not sure. Idonbyte, oh my God, we have the same mic. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of this mic. A lot of people ask about this mic. I'm a huge fan. I could talk about it for about 10 minutes, so don't get me started. But I think it's the best, mic, one of the best mics you can get for under $100. It's like $99. And before that, I was spending $20, $30 on a mic, and that took so much configuration, and I used it for about a year. And this one took a little bit of tweaking. And obviously an audio mixer connected to it kind of helped, but I had an audio mixer on the old one, but you need phantom power. And so anyways, it's so solid. It's so solid. I mean, anything up from here is diminishing returns on streaming. I mean, sure, I can get a Shure SMB, the mic that everyone had, but I'm going to pay like $400 or $500 for that mic. and then arguably, there's diminishing returns after you get a mic that's of a certain level, especially for streaming and broadcasting, in the quality that I am. But yeah, I enjoy it for sure. Let's see. Galactic Avenger. Today's YouTube video was awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, it's different. I'll just say that. It's different. I had a ton of fun doing it. I know that a lot of people expect home lab stuff out of me, or expect, open source stuff out of me all the time, or expect like things I don't buy, free things out of me all the time. And so I was a little bit nervous about releasing it. I still kind of am. But I've always said that, my channel is what I did the week before, or what I do on the weekend. It's the same reason why I ask what you guys are working on, because I love to hear all of these projects and inspiration and trials and tribulations and things you figured out and achievements and accomplishments and, maybe things you haven't figured out yet. And I'd love to give a helping hand. And so anyways, that's what my channel has always been. It did, it does lean towards home lab, does lean towards open source, but that's because of what I use. But it's not all home lab, not open source. And my last project wasn't always open source. Anyway, well, this one kind of was. But anyways, yeah, I decided to dabble a little bit in machine learning, neural networks. Obviously, the stuff that I did today was, I thought pretty cool, because one, there's already a neural network framework out there that's already done the object detection and the training for you. So all I had to do was compile this thing and then give it content. And so, yeah, I thought it was super fun. And it has some applications for sure. It has some applications like, Home Assistant has a very similar plugin for it called Dudes. I mentioned it in the video. And Home Assistant can actually do object detection for you too, which is awesome because it's local, object detection, which you're probably like, what the heck are you even talking about? What I mean is that you don't have to send your content, your video streams, to the cloud for someone in the cloud to say, yes, that's a person, or yes, that's a dog, or yes, that's a cell phone. Well, they won't go that far. I went that far. And so that's what, that's this kind of thing I've been exploring is like, I want to do, object detection and person detection on premise, like at home on my own devices. And so this was my first foray into there to say, okay, well, what's out there? How does it work? And obviously I wanted to throw my new video card at it and have it process lots of video. And so I got a couple things coming this week. I won't spoil it. And it's nothing major, but it's super fun stuff. Totally not even related. Well, kind of related to what I last did, but nothing like anything I've ever done. So anyways, that's coming this week. And it was super fun to play with. And I know it's not gonna, not everyone's interested in it, but I thought it was fun. Anyways, what people might be interested in the future is Home Lab can do this now with a plugin called Dudes. To where it can analyze your camera streams for your cameras and do object detection for you in your own home. So that is super cool. And it's making me want to dust off my Home Assistant installation and check it out. And then there's this thing called, I think it's DeepStack Server, which then you get an API to do all of this stuff locally, outside of Home Assistant, outside of any platform. It is its own platform to do that kind of stuff. So thank you. I appreciate it. I think it's cool. Will my general audience think it's cool? I mean, they'll speak, with views, but that's totally fine. I'm just being me and sharing what I'm learning. But anyways, appreciate you taking the time to say that. And sorry, I went up on a tangent because every Saturday, I get on the stream and I'm super energetic and I love interacting with everyone. But in the back of my head, I'm like, why isn't the video doing this well? Or why is it doing so well? And in the back of my head, I'm always nervous on Saturdays. So this is the time when I kind of try to forget about that and talk to you guys. So anyways, I'm getting all weird and sentimental. So anyways, I appreciate it. Thank you. Dex Vinyl. It's dual NIC static IP. Dual NIC static IP. Dex Vinyl. This was, let me go a little bit more. It's even taking the broadband down, preventing it to connect to the NIC is not replaceable. Yeah, so then you have other options. So you're gonna have to, so this is going back to your NAS. NIC is not replaceable. That's not good. So I would check then with, check the cable, replace the cable. I know that seems like, why would it be the cable? I would probably replace it. Just grab a new one. You probably have another one somewhere. If you have dual NICs and a NAS, I'm sure you got a few extra Cat 6 or Cat 5, whatever you're using, laying around. Swap those out. Maybe even switch ports too. If you are using dual NICs, I'm curious if you're teaming them or bonding them. That could have some impact as well. You might want to break that bond if you have lag set up or anything like that, or the teaming you may or may not have set up. I mean, that could contribute to it too. Yeah, it's too bad that they're not replaceable, that they're fixed. But those are some things to try. This has been working fine for 2 years. Yeah, I mean, to me then that sounds like hardware or software. Sounds like hardware or software then. So it was either a software update that introduced this, or it's hardware that's going bad, or yeah, hardware that's going bad. I'll just put it that way. Like I said, when I had that problem with that NIC, I had zero problems. I had no problems whatsoever. But I noticed, like, every time I turned on this one machine, packets were getting flooded. Like, I couldn't do anything. It was like my very own DOS on my network. I never did track it down too far to figure out why it was doing that. I just knew after a certain period of time, this machine turning on, it was doing it. And when I pull out the network cable, it wasn't doing it. So I just pulled the NIC out, put in a new NIC, and never thought about it again. Till now. Homeland new LOL Cat 3 has in a phone. iPhone rings 45 volts. Switch port major oof. Yeah. Joking cool. Oh, joking cool. How you doing? MC Buddy uses ComSkip, etc., but the commercial scanners are not perfect. But if you use Play On and record your shows from on demand, it adds markers for the commercials. The only issue is that they pad commercials by a couple of seconds. I made an app that updates the markers, then runs through MC Buddy MP4 on process. Since they don't have to render in any way, keep the quality faster and the commercial removal is perfect. If you want more, ping me later. Sorry, I gotta run. Great show. Hey, thank you so much. Yeah, I might. I mean, I'm not. So maybe if it works with Plex, absolutely. But Plex has just been my media center now. And it's running. It's containerized. So very little I can do there. I could do some post-processing stuff, I guess, on that recorded TV, and maybe that would add markers, is what you're saying. If it adds markers that Plexes understand, yeah, I'll talk, as long as it's not re-encoding the whole entire video. I know it might need to read or scan, obviously, to be able to do it. It would be sweet if it did it in real time while it's recording. That's why I want Plex to own this one, because they're already looking at that stream once while, looking as in the process is, it's recording that stream. It would be awesome if you could detect that in real time, add a marker in real time, instead of then doing some post-processing on it. But yeah, super interesting. Let's see here. Right, so you want both Proxmox and VM to use both 10 gigabit interface. I think that was a response. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce it. I apologize. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. I'm gonna go with Obk. Obk? I don't know. Thank you so much. Welcome. Thank you. Difference between working and networking. Yeah, I like it. HomeLab new. Let me guess. It's a kernel task taking up 30%. Yeah. Welcome to Mac OS. Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah. Windows Server. Oh, drives me crazy. Techno Tim, I think he's referring to software called Paperless. It's an OCR organization for documents, not the, yeah, thank you. Thanks for that clarification. I haven't used it. I think someone has brought it up before. I haven't used it. I think someone did bring it up in stream and I was like, yeah, it sounds pretty cool. And we were trying to figure out, did it mean document scanning? I think I went through this whole loop before when someone mentioned it before, because I didn't understand what it was. Thank you, Penguin Airlines. Yeah, I haven't used it yet. I like the idea. I mean, maybe it'll help. I have a kind of a, I have a process in place for what I do with papers that get sent to me. I scan them and store them. I do it with a phone app. Works pretty good. But if there's something better out there, absolutely. And I think we talked about this before because it adds OCR to it, which is interesting because then it's indexed, which is awesome because then I can Control F or find anything in that document. And it's a lot better than what I have now, which is just an image of the document, which is, not indexed at all. So I like this. Another one. I'm going to go with OHT Hamid. I'm going to go with that. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. I got to check we're good. Okay, so in order to make Proxmox use the 10 gig interface by default, set a gateway on the interface. Oh yeah, you guys are figuring this out. This is deep. This is so deep. This is the conversation. Let's see. Penguin Airlines, is that Doctor of System D? Wait, let me scroll back a little bit. The Looter just got a new server, 2x Epic 7742 and 1.5 terabytes of RAM. Will be fun to work with. Jeez, that sounds awesome. Snatched it from work. What? They're just giving away Epic servers with that much RAM? What? Where do you work? Awesome, the Looter. Well, and your name's the Looter. So when you snatched it, was it offered? Penguin Airlines, is that Doctor of System D? LOL. Dex Vinyl, struggling to find a good quality at a reasonable price server for the home lab. First proper server, eBay prices are going through the roof. Any thoughts of places to look? So I generally, it's tough. I mean, if you're already looking at eBay, that's generally, a great place to look to get a deal. There's always local deals, and say what you want about Facebook and Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. But those are viable options. Those are places I generally search too. If I need something, I do it kind of backwards though. So I start with Amazon, so I have a good baseline of what it costs, quote unquote retail. If someone was going to buy it from Amazon, I look there. But yeah, there's a lot of inputs here. Because if you already know what you want, that's kind of where I start, right? If you're browsing, that's way different. Browsing for servers is tough. I'm not gonna lie. I've done it a couple times in my life, and it's tough. But if you know what you want, usually I start backwards. I start with Amazon. I look there. Did I find it? Okay, I found something, that I could buy, quote unquote, retail. May not be truly retail, but I know what they're gonna charge me on Amazon for it. Then I look at eBay and I do a comparison. Okay, it's more or less whatever. Then I usually go local after all that, because most of the time, most people aren't gonna, find or have exactly what I'm looking for. So that's like in a spearfishing, search scenario when I'm looking for servers. Spearfishing, right? I know exactly what I want. I'm gonna go to these places, look at these things. Newegg too. I would also Staples. Surprisingly, Staples. Office Max sells servers too. So a lot of these places that don't do B2C, direct to consumer, they obviously have distribution or sales at other places. Office Max is one. I didn't even know that place was still open. Nothing against Office Max. But I have bought server stuff from there too before, because they have relationships with Supermicro and all this stuff. But anyways, so if it's that type of approach, yeah, all right. And if I really am searching for something and I can't find it all, Google Shopping, because they'll tell you who has the thing, and then you can go from there. If you don't know what you want and you're browsing, that's a little tougher, and that's kind of where I start, kind of from the bottom up. So I see what's available local, and then I go and dig and find specs from there. If I like what I see, then I search. I work my way up. Probably not the best process. I'm sure there are tons of other sites out there, subreddits out there, home lab sales. But it depends on what you're looking for. So I have a weird process. I'm all over the place. But usually it's kind of difficult for me to understand first what's out there, what my options are, and then picking something from there. Because servers, it's not like consumer stuff. Where it's like, yeah, I want this motherboard. Okay, well, what features does it have? Well, it has all these features. Why do you want it? Well, because it supports, the latest processor. Well, when you get into servers, that means it has a different meaning. Has a different meaning because it supports all these different processors, and Intel and AMD's had different ones, different lines running for a really long time. So it's hard to do that mapping game, but I don't know. My process isn't any better, so when you figure it out, let me know. Legends never die. I don't Reddit. Oh yeah. Sorry. No. I do sometimes. PC Geek, Amazon sometimes has decent ones for sale there too. Yeah, for sure. Maslim, you don't need a UPS. You need a Powerwall. Tell me about it. I want a Powerwall. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I would love to have a Powerwall. Absolutely. I would. PC Geek AVR, I think, calls it APC, auto voltage regulations. Nut, yeah, Nut, and then Nut can do some monitoring for you. Maslim, sitting in the dark with no power while still using your computer and like nothing happened is great. Yeah, I agree. And still having internet access when no one else does is great too. Yeah, so I have tiers on my UPSs to where servers are on one stuff, networking hardware is on another. Because I don't want my server to drain the battery that all of my networking hardware is on. Because if the power were to go out for a while, I still want to be able to have Wi-Fi, internet, security cameras, like all those things. Everything over PoE is on a separate UPS because that stuff takes less power and I want that to stay on longer. And it's a little more critical than if my TrueNAS goes down. Suck, but But yeah, for sure. Maslim, I'm working on an 18 kilowatt Powerwall using battery packs from a Foreign Fusions hybrid. Oh my gosh, that sounds awesome. I would be so scared to build that. I mean, you sound like you know what you're doing. Me, not so much, but that sounds awesome. Is this on Instructables or something? Like, how do you learn how to do this? It's probably on Reddit or probably on Instructables. Or somewhere, but I would love to learn how to do this. Not that I want to do it, but I just want to understand the process. But yeah, Chivers, I'm going with that. JC Hivers, I'm going with that. Thanks for follow, appreciate it. Mr. Bonobo, hey, I now got a decent server, we're just going to skip specs, and I wanted to start hosting game servers with me and my friends. Does anyone know a nice way to manage multiple game servers or even so Mr. Bonobo, if you're still here, game server management, there's an awesome platform out there called Pterodactyl. I think it's pterodactyl.io. And that's what Pterodactyl.io does. It's a game management server. And they have a bunch of terminology around eggs and wings. And so they have this whole entire nomenclature that's based on a pterodactyl or dinosaurs. It's pretty cool. But it helps me. It doesn't help me understand the concepts. But what it does do is manage multiple nodes, so multiple servers, for game servers, which are services. I think they call them eggs or something. And it actually gives you authentication and authorization too. So you can spin up game servers on multiple servers, and then give people access to those game servers to let them manage them, and then even install game servers on those. It's called Pterodactyl. It's a management console that does all of that for you. It sounds really cool. I've wanted to spin it up a few times, but it takes some infrastructure. It takes some planning. So, it's not as easy as just spinning up just a Docker container, which, which I kind of like doing. But for good reason. It's actually managing your gaming infrastructure. So it's pretty cool. And there's something else. Google has another platform out there too that's based on Kubernetes, which sounds really awesome, but it's pretty complicated too. So Google's done a ton of work. I forget what it's called, but they have a game server management server that's all in Kubernetes. And it's, I don't really understand how to use it or how games would use it, but it sounds pretty cool. Home Avenue, no, like you were literally drinking canned coffee, I thought. Oh no, I'm sorry. When we were talking about when you were like coffee, I didn't know if that was in reference to a comment earlier or this. No, people talk, I talk about this a lot. Let me grab a drink. No, this is sparkling water. It's AHA. I love this stuff. And this one is cherry coffee flavor. I talk about this a lot, so I'm sure you've heard about it. But I think it's fantastic. I love it. At first, when I saw it on the shelf, I was like, ooh, I don't know about that flavor. Coffee and cherry, maybe not for me, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I usually do that on things that sound weird or different. I'm just like, yeah, let me try it once. I gotta try it once. I gotta have an opinion. And when I tried it, I'm like, this is so good. And on top of that, has a little bit of caffeine in it. And then I noticed like during the the whole pandemic, bubbly water was always sold out, but this was the last one on the shelf. And I'm like, that is great because that's the one I like the most. And I think the secret is out now because this is the first to go. So anyways, it's very bad. You shouldn't drink it. No, I'm kidding. It's fantastic. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of AHA in general. I drink tons of bubbly water. Every brand you could possibly imagine. And this is the one that I've been drinking lately. So I love it. Anyways, it's not a commercial for that. But it is cherry coffee flavor. A hint of cherry and a hint of coffee in bubbly water with a hint of caffeine. Can't go wrong. So let's see. Yeah, it does depend on the game. So I'll preface everything I said about the game server depends on the game too. But they have support for Docker-based game servers, Steam-based game servers. They have a lot of support. And I think Pterodactyl is a leader in this area, which is not that big, but they seem to do things really well, and people seem to like it. But it's a game management server console. For managing those servers and games. Mark, my bad, English, just moved from ES6i to Proxmox. Will a Grid K2 work with vGPUs? Good question. I don't think so. Because I think with those Grid K2s, I think there's some software that needs to run, basically licensing. I don't know for sure, but I do know this for sure. There's a layer of software that runs in between the Grid K2s or the K2s, between the device and the OS. And so ESXi has done that with they partnered with NVIDIA to get this working, right? And NVIDIA probably supplied some software for it to work properly. I don't think that exists for Proxmox. And I think Jeff from Craft Computing, I think he mentioned this. So if you look at all his cloud computing server series, he does talk about, I think, why he used ESXi. And there is a reason why, and I think it's just that. It's just that the software just does not exist to be able to do that on Proxmox. Could be wrong, but that was my takeaway as to why he used ESXi in that scenario. And then licensing and stuff like that. I think he found a license on eBay, but hey, it works. The licensing too. So there's the software, so there's a technical piece, and then there's the licensing piece too. Get to games. Hello, can you make a tutorial explaining traffic 2 on Kubernetes with examples? Many thanks. This one's tough, and if you're in our Discord server, so a lot of people have done it. A lot. I'm exaggerating. I think like 5 people have done it. Well, maybe 5 people that care to admit it have done it. So I've done it, and my infrastructure is super complex. I have a high-level overview of how it works and how to do it in Discord. Does it warrant an entire video? I'm not sure, because that's way down the rabbit hole, but people do ask. It might warrant a blog post or just the documentation at some point, but your best bet is going to be hop in Discord, and I can link you right to the comment where I said this is how you do it, because but yeah, it's fair. I mean, if I had hundreds of people asking for it, for sure. But I've only had, I think, 5 or 6 people ask for it. And maybe the people who want it are just less vocal. But it would be a super complicated video to do. And that's why I thought, well, maybe this will be a blog post, and then from there, people can copy and paste and do it at their own pace. But yeah. PC Geek, if you had it on ESXi, to be honest, I would have left working for that machine. I know there's some stipulation about licensing to get it to work. The K2 was made before the licensing was imposed, but I think it's very hard to get to work. Yeah, I think there's a technical piece to that too. Luca Taco. Hey, trying to get a 3080 for a while. Should I just go for the 3090? You must have seen my video. It's kind of what I did. So, I used some apps to track when things were in stock, and I did it for a while, and I did it for 3 weeks before deciding, I noticed that, when 3080s came in stock, I had them in my cart twice, but I mean, you can't even check out fast enough. Obviously there's bots and stuff like that. So I'm competing with not only bots, competing with real people who want it. And then I'm competing with real people who want it for Bitcoin. And so it's a tough market. And on top of all that, I wanted the Founders Edition, right? I wanted the one that was made by NVIDIA because of the way it looks, it holds its value, and I like the design. Nothing against anyone else. I've had EVGAs, MSIs, Zotacs. I still have all of those in a box somewhere. But yeah, I ended up going down that same path, and I'm like, okay, if this is going to help me, so mine's not just for gaming. If this is going to help me with my content moving forward, maybe the next time a 3090 comes in stock, I'll try. And yeah. So that happened the next week, and I was like, okay, and I need to make this decision. I need to add it to my cart and check out. And then, I had the option to cancel or not pick it up. So, I totally wasn't, I wasn't totally 100%, all in on a 3090, even after I added to my cart and checked out. Because I'm like, not in stock for another week. It'll get shipped to Best Buy. They'll tell me it's ready, and I still have all this time to decide. And I had another week in their cycle, so I figured out their cycle. Like Best Buy usually releases their 3080s and their 3090s on Tuesdays around 10 Central. I'm giving out some good tips, so take some notes. So Best Buy gets a round of 3080s and 3090s. They release them around 10 or 11 Central, so do the math for your time zone, on bestbuy.com. And then when they release them, there's a whole nother set of things you kind of have to do or should do ahead of time. So if you're serious about getting one, make sure you're logged in. 2, make sure your credit card information's already added to your Best Buy account because you need to check out as fast as you can. 3, there are trackers that help you with this, but you could camp out on their site and wait for that yellow button to light up. When it does light up, you better click on it as fast as possible. Once you click on it, then you're in a holding tank where you're in a tank with other people who clicked on it. And so in that holding tank of people who also tried to add to cart, they are actually trying to now check out. So whoever clicked first on add to cart is now trying to check out. And I think they're competing with the other people who are trying to check out. Once you get to that point, you do not refresh your page. Whatever you do, you just wait. And so I think that button is pulling and looking and waiting to see if people got checked out and then reassessing how much stock they have left to then open it up for you to then try to check out. So it's a long process. Anyways, I had to make that decision too. And I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go with the 3090. The 3080 didn't come back in stock. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to live with it. Because I mean, to be honest, I was on a 1080 for 4 years and, it wasn't brand new. I mean, I bought it new, but it wasn't a new card when I bought it 4 years ago. So, it was struggling. And I'm not talking about for gaming or streaming or things you see me do, but processing and editing my videos was painful to the point where I just there were times where I'm like, I don't even want to edit these anymore because my 1080 just can't keep up with the types of videos I was editing. So anyways, long story short, it's double the cost. Should you go for it? I would say if you can wait for a 3080 or a different card, wait. If you have a project or something, that is absolutely super demanding of your workload, maybe it's a gaming workload, maybe it's, Cyberpunk or you name the game, and you want to run it in 4K, you got a new monitor, and that's what you want to do, I mean, go for it. But I mean, do your own evaluation. There's a trade-off. I paid double the cost for something that I'm obviously was able to take advantage of in my last video. But will I always do machine learning and AI and deep learning on workloads to where I'm going to use the 24 gigs of RAM? No. Do I need that many tensor cores? No. I mean, I exercised them for fun. But that's not going to be my typical workload. My typical workload is going to be what you see here: streaming, some gaming that you don't see, rendering my videos that you don't see the process, but you see the output. So, yeah, I probably made this way more confusing than you were thinking, Luca Taco. But I think you're going to have to evaluate it. It's twice the cost. Are you going to get twice the benefit? That's up to you to decide. Let's see, Egg House. Luca Taco 3080 Ti spec leaked yesterday, so no clue when it'll finally launch. All right. Luca Taco will probably be out of stock on launch. Yeah. I think this is the new trend. It's not that new of a trend, but it's very different. It seems like every new video card has, well, gaming has totally exploded. Streaming has totally exploded. But then there are so many more use cases now for video cards where you know, Bitcoin mining has always, you know, has been around for 5, 6, 7 years, maybe longer. So, I mean, you know, it's just up to these manufacturers to produce more stock or not to release it until they, you know, have enough stock. But I think this will always be the case. This will be the case with all new stuff unless they just produce enough. I don't know. But I agree, it's probably going to be out of stock. Anything new they release now, it's going to be out of stock. I think the 3060, right? 3060 Ti was another one that they announced. Yeah, good luck finding that. So they're now trying to fill all these other gaps so people buy other ones. But I don't know. Long story short, it's expensive, and you know, do what's best for you. All the same, but it might be better value than the 3080 or 3090. Yeah, for sure. PC Geek, talk to you later. See you later, man. Thanks for hanging out and helping out, man. Appreciate it. Hey, Techno Tim, have you ever had to migrate a Pi-hole instance from ARM to x86? How did it go? I didn't. I cheated. I cheated. So I didn't. No, I didn't. But I understand the process. So have I ever migrated cross CPU architecture? I haven't, but the process should be the same. You should be able to go into the admin console of your Pi-hole and export your configuration. I forget where it is. It's like backup or configuration or something like that. And then you just download a bundle. It might be tarred or zipped up or something. And in there is all the config files it needs. So really, all you need to do is build an x86 version, whether that's in Docker or virtual machine or whatever, bare metal. Have your existing one stood up, download that config, and then build your new one, and then apply. Well, you probably then want to set your IP address to, well, so if we're really going to do this high level, if someone asked me, how do I do this? I would just say, okay, go on your existing one that's ARM, back up that config, take it down, build your new one. Don't set the IP address yet to what you want it to be, and maybe you're going to reuse the same IP, maybe you're not. But let's say you are, the more difficult way. Then what I would do is end up shutting down your original Pi-hole server that's running on ARM, change your IP address on your Pi-hole now that's running on x86, and then I would apply that config to it and restore all your settings. That should be all it is. If you're not going to reuse your static IP address or IP address, yeah, absolutely, just go for it. It should be easy. Should be easy because you can run two at the same time, and if you're not pointing anything at it now, restoring that config to it is doing nothing more than writing the config in the rules, and it's not doing anything. Well, there's DHCP. So if you use it for DHCP, it is doing something. So I would make sure the original is shut down if you're using DHCP before you bring up the second one, or temporarily disable it because you don't want it handing out IP addresses when your old one is. Let's see, Mark. Cooling is the hardest part of getting it working on ESXi was easy. I don't think Proxmox will support GPU. Yeah, I don't think so either, because you need software from at least NVIDIA for this, what you're trying to do, I think. Maslam, I think Tim is only about 20 minutes behind you. Yeah, I'm not too far behind. I'm catching up. Home Avenue, also, there has been a recent national security EOS, which requires US-based hosting providers to collect a lot more information about their customers, largely in response to the Russian intel being US-based hosting for command and control and SolarWinds breach, since it's getting harder for US intel to legally investigate. Hey, yeah, it's interesting to know. Vinny DSM, noob question. Can you host your own dynamic DNS? I want to stop paying for my static IPs if you can. Yeah, hosting your own, I'll rephrase that for you with the way that I think that you want to answer that question. Can I have dynamic DNS? I think is what you're trying to ask. And absolutely you can. I do it myself. Yeah, I haven't paid for static IP ever in my life. And not saying that with that comes probably some more benefits, because you probably have to buy some business package and comes with a whole bunch of stuff you don't need, but you pay a whole lot more for. So absolutely, yeah, you can totally do dynamic DNS. You can self-host and this is getting into your self-host piece, you can self-host the container or the script or whatever it is that's going to update your IP address automatically. And I do this now, so there are lots of free options, and there are lots of ways to solve this. If you own a domain, which you probably do because you're asking about dynamic DNS, and you can transfer your name server resolution from your registrar to Cloudflare and then do it from there. And that's part of the way I do it. And so Cloudflare owns the DNS for my domain names. And then I have a Docker container that updates Cloudflare when my IP address changes. If you don't want to do all that, there's also DuckDNS. And so DuckDNS is a service that does exactly that, but they give you a subdomain hanging off of duckdns.org. And so you could have vinnydsm, DuckDNS, I'm showing how far back I go, duckdns.org. And then, you can set up a script on either a virtual machine. Some routers have it. I think Luca Taco's mentioned that there. Some routers have it built in. Or you can host your own container if you're doing Docker, or it can just be a script that runs on a cron job. A lot of people yell at me about, why would you containerize just this script and not just run a script on your server? Sorry, this is what this voice that I do is when people yell at me on YouTube. Why? It's kind of how it is in my mind. But they're like, why would you just, why would you, what a waste of resources to put a script inside of a Docker container. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just spin it up? Why wouldn't you schedule a cron job, make that script executable, put it somewhere on some server and just run it on a timer? And I'm like, because that's exactly what I don't want to do. I don't want this script to run. I don't want to mess with a cron job on some server somewhere and have a script to make it executable and worry about file system on the server. So anyways, there are containers to help you with those kinds of things. And I don't mean to, I'm not trying to poke fun at people in comments, because I love criticism and I welcome criticism. I welcome feedback. But sometimes there's no winning. And I get it. Like people choose, when you get into tech stuff, especially home lab stuff or networking stuff or just general infrastructure stuff, everyone has a lot of experience. And they have a ton of experience. And no one wants to say like the choices that they made for their architecture are wrong or different. And so that's, I guess my point is like, I never, and I've said this from the beginning, I never want to dictate architecture, because everyone has their own use cases, their own needs, their own requirements, their own infrastructures, their own budget constraints, power constraints, temperature constraints, and even time constraints around what they have time to learn or stand up. So I never want to, hopefully, hopefully it never seems like I'm trying to dictate architecture. I always say, use what works best for you. And in this case, I realized that when I started making these videos, people are really protective around architecture choices, as they should be, because they put a lot of time and effort into what they've chosen to spin up or stand up or support. And so I welcome, that criticism, but not poking fun, but that's, when I do that voice, that's the other person talking to me in comments. That's the voice of the person. And hopefully it doesn't sound like a bad person. Just sounds like someone that's really, really gung-ho on their choices. So anyways, Luca Taco, thanks for the help, man. Appreciate it. More deep learning content, please, Luca Taco. Thank you. I would love to. I'll spill this all out there. YouTube in general. If you haven't created a YouTube channel, it's always a balance. It's always a balance between, satisfying your existing audience and growing your audience. And it's a very fine balance. Sometimes when I create a video, the people who expect a certain thing just basically say, this isn't what I expect. And they vote with their time. And it's totally fine. Everyone, you vote with your time all the time. You're voting with your time right now to be in this channel. And I get it, and I totally get it. But it's a tough balance. I don't want to say, oh, YouTube algorithm, it's the YouTube algorithm. No, it's not. It's what people are interested in. And I think, what I've been learning over the last couple of months, because my channel's really grown, I think in the last couple of months, not in the beginning, but considerably in the last couple of months, is that, you know, I have to find a balance between, you know, the people who subscribe to me to see certain content, and the people who, you know, aren't yet subscribed to me, but may want to see my content. And yeah, I mean, this is, you know, I don't know the best YouTube strategy. I'm just always just doing, I think, at least for me, I'm doing things that I think are interesting, and so I want to share them. And it's tough. It's tough. I beat myself up this morning about stuff. Hey, Flo, thank you so much for the subscription. Really appreciate it. Prime sub, thank you so much, Flo. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, I beat myself up this morning, you know, about stuff. I'm like, you know, is that what, you know, is that what people who click that red subscribe button, you know, is that what they signed up to see? You know, and I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't, you know, and it's different for every single person, so it's tough. Anyways, long story short, I would love to do more deep learning content. I would love to actually train a model. I would love to expand further on that video and say, you know, in that video, when I'm holding up this device, you know, deep learning or my object model thinks it's a cell phone. I would love to train that model to say remote, you know, and I would love to say, you know, for it to understand the difference between these two objects, right? One's a phone, one's a remote. You know, I would just throw, you know, 1,000 pictures of a remote at it and 1,000 pictures of a phone at it and say, no, here's the difference. Well, you learn the difference between the two and tell me. You know, I'd love to do other things like facial detection. Yeah, I think someone mentioned that in the comments, but you know, I would love to say, instead of the big persona box around me, I would love for it to say Tim, you know, where it knows my face. And this is all local, you know, object detection. So I would love to do something like that too, but yeah, it's a tough balance. It's a tough balance. If you ever, I mean, it's the same thing. If you think about it on a micro level, you know, when you share content on any social network, whether it's TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you use, you know, YouTube's no different. Sometimes when you create content, you're gonna get likes. Sometimes when you create it, you're not. Sometimes the algorithm will find people who might like it, and sometimes it won't. And so, anyway, I'm going on and on and on about YouTube strategy that I haven't even figured out yet. But I do want to balance it, because you know I want the people who, you know, that you know, follow my channel to just, you know, get something interesting out of it. So, anyways, yeah, I'm spilling it all. I don't care. I'm an open book anyways. How Weston, hello, how's it going? Vinny DSM, that's cool. I'm gonna mute the stream and go watch the video. Oh, no, you don't have to now. No. Get to games. This week I tried to install Rancher 2.5 with Docker, and I've had problems with etcd. It does work. It does not work. Did you try it already? By the way, I really like your videos. Thank you. Real quick, Lord Birthday Suit. Hey, thanks for the follow. Welcome. This one's tough. So have I tried it with etcd? To be honest, no. I went MySQL. So I went, my stack for Kubernetes, K3 is, I use K3s, and in K3s, I decided to go with MySQL instead of etcd or any in container storage. And there's a lot of reasons why I choose that. Most of it has to do with backups and, you know, how I can maintain state, have less nodes, and I'm familiar with how to back up, you know, MySQL, where etcd is a little bit more challenging. But it should work. The fact that it doesn't work is kind of alarming. I will say though, that a lot of people have pointed out in the Discord community is that Rancher isn't ready for Kubernetes 1.20. So Rancher works totally fine with Kubernetes 1.19, which has been out for a while. But now, you know, Kubernetes 1.20 is out. And so if you install K3s is going to use Kubernetes 1.20, and then Rancher isn't fully compatible yet with Kubernetes 1.20. Someone opened a pull request on my documentation, and it's in GitHub, on how to install K3s with version 1.19 so that Rancher will work. And then once Rancher, you know, has some updates, to be compatible with Kubernetes 1.20, then you can just update K3s and update Rancher. So hopefully that helps. Get to games. Hope you're still here. Hope that helps because yeah, it goes back to pinning something to latest. And I could have been more clear during the K3s installation to just say, hey, you know what? When you run this command, you're getting latest, and maybe you want to pin it to a certain Kubernetes version. But then that documentation gets old. It's old the day they release a new version. So, but the good news is someone figured it out. Someone posted how to work around this, and they opened a pull request on the original documentation. So if you're looking at that documentation for that video, it should be there because I merged in the pull request. And thank you so much for people who open pull requests in my documents. I freaking love it. It's so awesome. Community-based documentation. Thank you. Hot Weston. I just hit a wall trying container feature on Proxmox. For some reason, I have issues with networking and this new container. I wish I could help you there. I don't use LXC containers on Proxmox. I think PC Geek was here. He does a ton of it. And there are a lot of people who do. I wish I could help, but if you tell me a little bit more about the problem or talk about it in Discord, I'll definitely lend you a hand or find someone who does know. I'll try my best. Stupak, I'm debating if I should use Kubernetes. I don't work in tech. I have a big home lab just using VMs right now, but I think some things could benefit from some orchestration or automation setups. And my only choices are Docker Swarm or Kubernetes. You have a little bit more choices. Yeah, I think there's Mesos. Sorry, I gotta put on chapstick real quick. Ignore this for a second. But Stupak, you have other choices. But I will say, the fact that you haven't heard of those other choices, it might be a telling sign of how popular they are. And but if you're new to tech, arguably, maybe you haven't heard of them anyways. But I think Mesos, there's a couple of others, but the two big ones right now for container orchestration are Swarm and Kubernetes. I will say that Swarm, I will say there's nothing wrong with Swarm, but I will say that Kubernetes by far is very, very popular. If you're not, if you don't work in tech and you've heard of Kubernetes, that kind of speaks volumes about how popular it is. And plus it has a very distinct name. But I will say, it can be complicated. And there's, some things that you might have to learn about Kubernetes in order to support it. Rancher kind of helps with that. But if you're making the leap, this one's tough because you're going to make the leap from virtual machines to containerization. So you're switching technologies. You're no longer saying one virtual machine does this one task or 4 or 5 tasks, however you have it divided up. And now I'm going to rely on containers to run those tasks, right? Those workloads. And so that's a big leap right there. That's a leap in technology. That's a leap in architecture, in design, and even thought that you put into it. So that's fantastic, and I commend you for wanting to make that jump. If it's right for you. If you still don't want to take on Kubernetes or even Swarm, you could just do it the plain old Docker way. There's and especially if this is for home or for home lab. I still have plain old Docker containers running in some of my infrastructure. One, because it can't be in Kubernetes because it helps manage Kubernetes or does something else for Kubernetes. So it can't be inside. It's like chicken or the egg. But then I choose to use Docker for it because it's way easier to manage. So Stupak, I don't know if I'm making this any easier, but I'm just trying to explain some of your other options. You could go, the Docker way. You could just use Docker containers. And like I said, that's a lot of configuration and a jump to do that. And then you could use something like Portainer to manage that Docker installation. So you still get a UI. Portainer can manage Swarm, Kubernetes, or the local Docker installation. Right now with Rancher, it's only going to do Rancher 2. It's only Kubernetes. And so you can do that. And so I on those servers I have running in my infrastructure that are Docker only, I use Portainer to manage it because I could do Docker commands and Docker logs and do all of that. But I want a GUI for it. And it's not because I don't know Docker. It's just because, if I'm sitting on the couch and one of my containers isn't running, it's very easy to go into Portainer and say start or restart or even check up on it. But then you're kind of leading into, okay, well, if what would your next, infrastructure decision be, or your vNext infrastructure after containerization? Do you need the orchestration from Swarm or from Kubernetes? Do you need all of those advanced features? And so that's where you might have to make the choice either to do 2 migrations and just live with Docker for a little bit, only Docker, and maybe Portainer to manage it, but Docker is the core service to run your apps, or then move on to Kubernetes next. And so that's a tough decision, and that's going to be a big leap, but at least you wouldn't have to do it twice. So anyways, and there's nothing stopping you from just evaluating this, from trying it, right? You can do this now. I mean, take one service that you're running in your virtual machines and switch over to Docker. Change however you get to that service and give it a shot. You don't have to go all in. You can take baby steps. If you're doing Plex and on a VM and you want to try Plex and Docker, give it a shot. Or maybe even something smaller than that. If you're running Heimdall or whatever, or some kind of dashboard, or some kind of website where it's not as critical as something like Plex, depending on the website. But you can make a quick jump and test it out with Docker only and Portainer and say, hey, yeah, does this work for me? Let it run for a week, so you don't have to make, huge architectural decisions all at once. I'm kind of that way. I'm like, nope, this is where I'm going. This is what I'm doing, and I'm not going to stop until I'm done. But you don't have to be that way. So Stupak, I'm slowly working on building up speed detector using object recognition and lots of cars speeding by my house. Oh yeah. Oh my God, seriously, check the cable. It's quicker, and you'll be mad that you, oh my God. Seriously, check the cable. It's quick, and you'd be mad if it doesn't turn out to be the cable. Oh yeah, you're talking about networking. Yeah, I can recognize cars with my stuff. It's pretty cool. My cameras aren't strong enough yet or my house isn't close enough to the street to see license plates, but that would be interesting too. Yeah, it's so incredible how fast this detection works. I'm gonna go with Hamad. I got a gaming PC, and normally streaming PC. Is my FPS gonna be okay while streaming? I mean, I will use both for gaming and streaming. Let's see. I got a gaming PC, and in a normal streaming PC, is my FPS gonna be okay while streaming? It just depends. I mean, it depends. So there's a lot of factors in there, Hamad, about can I game and stream on the same machine? It depends. There's a lot of factors, so I'll just talk kind of high level some of the things that might impact your performance. First of all, it's going to be your video card. Depends on the video card, right? Next is going to be the resolution, right? That you're playing in, right? Are you going to play in a higher resolution than you're going to stream in, right? Because Twitch only supports up to 1080p, 60 frames per second. So are you going to play games at 60 frames per second or 1080p 60 frames per second, or are you going to scale that down and then send that to Twitch? So that's going to impact your choices. For a long time, I played games locally 1080p 60 frames per second because my video card didn't have to do any additional work before it encoded it and sent it off to Twitch. The next decision you're going to have to think about is, are you going to do you use an NVIDIA video card, or do you use an AMD video card? Hey, Stupak, thanks for the bits, dude. 500 bits, dude. Thank you so much. I may just try Docker and Portainer as well. I don't have unlimited time. Yeah, no one does, and I think you'll be happy with it. I hope it works out for you. And I have no idea why my monitor just went off. I think it's trying to send the signal to me. There it goes on. Yeah, dude, thanks so much for the bits. You really didn't have to. I'm here to answer questions, and if you run into things along the way, yeah, let us know. If you're interested in Discord, we have one. There's a link below. Or you can use the Discord command. So yeah, appreciate it. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be a different paradigm thinking, shift in paradigm. But at the end of the day, you could end up with one virtual machine instead of 5, and only have to manage security updates and manage patches and manage all of that on one machine versus 5. And way less resources as far as disk space, RAM, all that stuff, because you're no longer allocating all of that RAM and disk space to the OS for 5 virtual machines. If you get all your containers on one, then you don't have to pay that cost. But anyways, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Anyway, so what I was talking about, Hammond, the next thing you want to consider is your video card. You know, AMD, obviously, or NVIDIA, both good choices. But you'll want to decide if you want to do the stream encoding on your CPU versus your GPU. And so AMD has some options for that. I totally forget what it's called. And if you're using NVIDIA, they have an option for it in the streaming section of OBS that says NVENC. And it says NVENC X64 new, 264 new. So most likely you'll want to choose that because, you know, there's a dedicated encoder on your video card that can do that work. So your CPU is not doing that work, right? So it's going to say, hey, CPU, don't encode my stream. I'll do it on this dedicated chip on the card, which can take some stress off your CPU, which might give you better framework. What am I talking about? Frame rate. So many frames. Hopefully that answers your question. It was kind of vague, so I gave kind of, I guess, high-level vague answers. Let me know if that helps. Techno Tim, I'm new at Proxmox. Manny Navy, all right. Yeah, well, hey, congratulations. Can I have one? I don't know what you're talking about. Maslam, normally they're completely separate. Oh, you're probably talking when I said a box of old video cards. Maybe I'm tying that back. Maslam, normally they're completely separate. Your gaming PC is outputting your streaming PC as if it were just another monitor. So both their own thing, and your FPS has to do with the PC. Yeah, maybe you understood this question a little bit more. The stream FPS will be whatever your PC can handle, and you have set it to. Yeah, that's good advice. Stupak, use servers, local surplus auctions, local university. I like this. Business closings. Yeah, I've thought about business closings, and I haven't thought about surplus auctions or university auctions. I wouldn't even know where to look for that. But yeah, good pointers. Good pointers. Universities are closed right now. Yeah, so yeah, they are. Well, closed but somewhat operating. Yeah, I hear you. Yep, they're still taking tuition. That's for sure. Vinny doesn't. Vinny. Yeah, that machine learning bit was cool. Can you integrate face recognition into that? You can. Yeah, I think you just need a model where you can train it. And so this is the other side of machine learning. So on that side, I was, using a framework to consume a pre-trained model that understood what those objects were. And facial recognition, or person, I should say person, at least in darknet, I could probably train it, but it would take a lot of data. And, I'd have to, give it a lot of data for it to then understand what the differences are between me and someone else, or enough characteristics about me to where it would say, yes, this is me, Tim, with this degree of confidence. But yeah, it's super interesting stuff. Penguin Airlines. I want to say it with a short I, so it sounds like a pirate name. Oh, which name? Oh man, I gotta get this. Shiver me timbers. I like it. Okay, Shiver. I'm going with that. Manny Navy. I'm new at Proxmox, and I'm not sure how to create an NFS share. Ooh. That's tough. Proxmox has a wiki on it, that's for sure. That one's tough. I mean, it shouldn't be too terribly difficult. Some people do it with an LXC container, or some people do it right on the operating system. I think that's a decision you're going to have to make, Manny. Whether you do it in an LXC container and spin up an NF server that way, or you're just going to create it in the OS with Debian and do it that way. Me personally, if I was going to add a share to Proxmox, which I try not to, I try not to, how do I say this? I try not to, I try not to stray too far from anything that Proxmox doesn't provide out of the box, only because those are all the things I'll need to remember if I ever migrate, or it ever dies, or if something ever happens to the server, I'll then have this laundry list of other things that I didn't consider. So anyways, I'd probably go with an LXC container. That's me. But I keep my NFS shares inside of TrueNAS, which are technically inside of Proxmox, but not exposed directly on the Proxmox host. Juan, what's your graduation? I don't know if you're asking me. How do you do it? Manny, what's going on? Did you figure it out, bud? Vino. Hey Tim, I'm running Rancher in Ubuntu. Rancher doesn't support the latest Docker version. So how are we to upgrade packages of Ubuntu except a Docker package? Don't know the answer to that. I've upgraded I think I have on K3S, but I've used the Rancher Docker install script to do it that way. I don't know if when you install so if you do it the Rancher way, so I'll back up a little bit. Rancher does have certain versions of Docker that they approve, just like we just talked about earlier. They have certain versions of Kubernetes, I won't say approve, that they're compatible with. So Rancher has a list of technologies of here are the versions we're compatible with. And I think you might be running into a compatibility issue. So it depends on how you install Docker. I typically go through the Rancher Docker install script. I don't think that will add, I may or may not be right, but I don't think that script adds the Docker repositories to your list. I could be wrong, but I'm not sure. I'd have to look. It's news to me, but like I said, I usually use their Docker install script. I didn't install Docker from the Docker installation instructions. I do it through their Docker install script. So look there. And if you want, you could revert the version you installed through apt and then use their Docker install script that way. Natter, my eyes, sorry, getting dried out. Natter, this is a lot of letters that I'm doing terribly at pronouncing. Natter-vernal, I'm gonna go with that. I'm migrating from front end to DevOps sysadmin. I'm working as sysadmin about 6 months. I'm really struggling with Apache 2 and Nginx servers. You have some advice, of course, to hint to me. No. I wish. So I can understand that struggle. I mean, I've done front end in my life. I've done some DevOps stuff in my life too. And that's quite the leap. A lot of concepts and a lot of things going on there. Fortunately, I've spun up Nginx servers on my own, and I've always had to like containerize my front ends inside of Nginx to serve out those static files. So I kind of understood, and I'll be the first to admit that I don't know everything about Apache and Nginx. No, I know about the 5 attributes that I care about when I have to containerize my stuff. So I definitely don't know it in and out. That's for sure. But I wish I had more advice. I mean, for me personally, it depends on what you're trying to do. Whenever I need to know something, it seems like Nginx is usually the source that I refer to, because usually I'm solving problems. I'm not trying to understand concepts. And so like when I was trying to do, TCP load balancing in Nginx, I just go to Nginx site and read about what the config looks like and what each of those attributes do in that config file. And so probably not the best advice, but I don't have, I don't have an extensive history with Nginx and Apache. I've always just applied them to what I was doing, and they were just kind of a means to an end. I was never, managing this Apache, web server or managing an Nginx web server. I was usually managing the container that had my files inside of it, which happened to be Nginx. So I don't know. Let me know if there's more specific questions. Maybe someone else can help with that too. Jack at Bandcast. Oh no, he's asking the question right there, so I don't even need to follow up. Thank you so much. Beardy Owl. Hey, just wanted to say you do good videos. Thank you. Very interesting. Well done. Thank you. Hello from Russia. Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much, Beardy Owl. And you got a Beardy Owl too. Oh yeah. Oh, that emoji is on point. I think Penguin Airlines has some competition there. A bearded owl that's winking. So good. So good. I'm teasing you, Penguin Airlines. You got nothing to worry about. Kind of. I'm kidding. Let's see. I'm going to scroll through because we are going on a little bit longer than normal. So I'm going to look for mentions. Oh, there's 2 right here. Gimli Theon. Can I ask, how do you do your 3-2-1 backups? Yeah. Do you use the 3-2-1 backup principle? Reason I'm asking because I'm looking for a good method since I hear more backups. Yeah, RAID doesn't equal backup. No, I know. A lot of people throw that out there with kind of explaining what it even means. Real quick, 10x developer, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Yeah, so when people are like, yeah, RAID's not backups, yeah, it's absolutely not. It's continuity. You know, all RAID is continuity. Make sure that this volume, can run. That's all it is, availability, right? And it doesn't mean that your files are any backed up at all. So they're two totally different concepts. And I see people throw that around a lot. And I'm like, ooh, I wonder why people got confused in the first place. Anyways, I won't spend time on that. 3, 2, 1. So yeah, so what? It's 3 copies in 2 locations, 1 off site. I think that's it. Mostly there. So mostly there. Yeah. So the 3 copies or so I can't remember if I'm 3, 2, 1 or 3, 1 or part of 2. But I will say that most of my data, I have another local copy of it here. I do have offsite in the cloud. Absolutely, I do. All of my data that I care about is backed up in the cloud. So the 2 part is kind of where I think it gets a little bit tough because, I have 20 terabytes of stuff that I need. It's old footage. Do I need another local copy of that here? Arguably in 3, 2, 1, yeah, you do. You should. And so I have a kind of a gap solution that copies only the most critical things nightly, makes another copy of them here locally. And the rest of it is I'm just like, I'll fetch from the cloud. I'll fetch from the cloud. And I know, well, what happens if, my offsite backups, I'll say that, something happens. 2 different medium. All right, I like it. Yeah, 2 different medium. Thank you. So the 3. All right, so I don't have the full 3 part. This is like, there's the principle, and then there's what you can do realistically. And for me, realistically, I can't make another copy of all 20 terabytes of my data here. So I have 2 copies. Most of it, I have 3 copies. But there's some where I only have 2 copies because I just don't have another 20 terabytes of disks here where I can make another local copy. So anyways, yeah, absolutely. Enterprise, if you're following this strategy, and you have nearly unlimited resources, absolutely. Home, it's a little bit different unless you, I have a lot of data and most of it is video data because I record videos. I know not everyone's like that. So it might be a little bit easier to where you're like, I picked up another 8 terabyte hard drive and there's my life's data, on a 3rd copy. For me, that would be doing that again, times 3 or 4. And then if I'm making that redundant, times 2. So it's a lot. So anyways, I don't have, so I guess I don't have a full 3, 2, 1. I do have almost. Again, and for me, there's little value on keeping, 19 of those terabytes replicated here because most of it is archival stuff that I won't use. And if something really, really, really did happen to where I needed, something, my other backup system here locally was down, I'd fetch it from the cloud. But that's why you have those tiers, right? But yeah, I'm not a backup expert, but I play one at home. No. But yeah, so is it a purist 3, 2, 1? No, I am part of that 3. I've had to, cut off or figure out a better way because I don't have unlimited funds and I don't have unlimited power. So I had to make a trade-off on what I was going to choose to fetch from the cloud or fetch from a remote site if something really did go wrong here locally. And the ones that I am choosing to exclude from this second local backup here on site are ones that I most likely haven't touched in over a year. I'll just put it that way. One that's footage, it's raw footage from old videos before you even see it on the screen. And 99% of that isn't even used because I edit the crap out of my videos. Anyways, Advanced Shelf, thanks for follow, appreciate it. But no, yeah, great question. I didn't go into too much detail, but yeah, I do the best I can. I'll say it that way. Do the best I can. I'm going for mentions. Netter and that's a tough one. For now, my boss and tech lead want to do the old way. I wish I could do Docker and Kate, but maybe he wants that to learn the hard way. Yeah, that's tough. So you'll run into those kinds of things, any company you work with, and whether it's new or old or wrong and different, right? You're gonna run into those things, and people are gonna have differences of opinions, and you just gotta kind of evaluate it, and I guess choose what you really care about, and and fight for those things. I will say, on the other end of the spectrum, us being, doers or implementers or coders or whatever you are, we like new stuff. We like to do things different. We like to change things, and obviously if we see something that we think is different or wrong or not right, we want to make a change. But, on the other side of that, if you work for a company, they're providing some kind of value to someone who's paying for something, and sometimes, those, that always doesn't get translated to newest or latest and greatest, or, it doesn't really have an impact on the output. So I'm not making excuses for people doing the wrong things, but what I am saying, the things that are just different and not latest and greatest, those are decisions that people have to make, and whether or not they're going to impact the product or the service that they're providing to their customers. And so that's always a trade-off. And I look at it too, like, maybe your manager or your boss wants to do the new and awesome thing, but knows like, hey, maybe it's not the right time, or maybe that's not going to give any value to their customers. I don't know. There's so many reasons why that can happen. But yeah, just keep, fight the good fight, but choose your battles at the same time. Oh, Penguin Airlines, it's a nice one. Oh man, now you have one. Oh yeah, your Pikachu is so good, Miss Colette. Oh, I like it. Man, I'm gonna kind of wrap stuff up. I'll go with this one and I'll look for a mention because I think there's one more. For school, I have a lot of VMs to run. I'm using VirtualBox, but I have performance issues. My main PC can't handle too much VMs at the same time. Do you know a way of to move the VM to another machine and still connect to it? Ew, that one's tough. Yeah, I mean, you could. So I see what you're doing. I was going to say you could move that virtual hard drive over to another machine, but then you're still using all the compute from you're just adding overhead, right? Because then you're just going to move the hard drive to another machine, and then you're going to spin up the virtual machine, but still use the compute from the thing that you're on. I think what you're looking for is a hypervisor. I think you're looking for a dedicated hypervisor, like what we're talking about. So like Proxmox or ESXi or Hyper-V or any of these hypervisors that are servers that you can run on a totally different machine, right? And so this is for Leal GDU. You might want to consider one of those things I just talked about. So if you never heard of them, there's Proxmox, there's Hyper-V from Microsoft, there's ESXi from VMware, there's you name them. And there are some that are easier to start than others. I will say though that it's not going to be, VirtualBox where you install this application on a different machine and now you magically have the performance of that machine. Oh, you could do that too. I'll talk about that in a second. But it is a whole entire operating system that's dedicated to running virtual machines. And so that's an option. That's a lot of infrastructure, right? And if you don't know about any of that stuff, it's like, whoa, now you got to do all that. The other thing I will recommend, and this is like something you could probably do today, just move VirtualBox over to the other machine. Get that running there as if you're setting right in front of it, and then just remote desktop into it. And then I'll even go as far as saying, so if you got that running, you could remote desktop into it and then remote into the virtual machine, right? That should work. Might have some latency or whatever. But if they're just totally remote machines, just, fire them up. Don't even remote into that other machine, remote directly into the virtual machine and SSH into your Linux servers that's running on a remote machine, right? Or RDP if they're Windows machines and you have remote desktop or whatever you use, TeamViewer or whatever. remote into those machines. And then so you can have VirtualBox running on a second machine, start it up, fire up all your virtual machines, walk away, and then remote into those machines that are running. Then all the performance concerns are on that one, and so you still have all your local performance, and then your performance is going to be whatever the host machine is there. I don't know if that helps. I've done a lot of different things. I ran VirtualBox for most of my infrastructure for a weekend while I had to do some migration, so it's tough. I mean, solid state and RAM. That's about all I can say. CPU, I would probably say, it's something you want to look at too, but you're obviously not going to upgrade your stuff. Solid state's an easy win. You're going to get the most bang for your buck on solid state. If you're doing virtual machines on just platters or mechanical drives, that's if you move to a solid state, you're going to get a, I don't know, 1,000%. I'm making this up, but pretty close percent increase, on performance when you're running multiple virtual machines. Because man, just mechanical drives aren't ready for that type of workload to have multiple virtual machines running on the same drive, plus the host OS itself. That's another performance tip too. Separate those disks. If your OS is on one, so we're just talking about VirtualBox, right? If OS is on one, put all your virtual machines on a totally separate virtual machine. And that might not be possible, but if you're going to be doing this for a while and you like that, and maybe buy a dedicated solid state just for virtual machines, install it in your PC, and then just move all the virtual drives there. And that'll take some load off it too. But I don't know what your constraints are. It's always going to be RAM, hard drive, and CPU. But I think that RAM obviously is going to have the biggest impact if you don't have enough RAM. But if you have decent amount of RAM, I think the next best thing is going to be solid state. So gonna look for mentions. You could try AWS S3 Glacier Deep Arc. I hear a ton about it, but I haven't done anything with it for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yes. So I have my offsite one. That's no problem, and I got a decent deal on it, and it's been working out pretty okay too, for sure. So man, there's only a couple, so I'll go through them. I'll just read them. Actually, Peanuts, only culprit for VirtualBox if you want to use directly remote into a VM, use bridge networking rather than NAT. Much easier to set up. Absolutely agree, 100%. I almost always use bridge networking when I run VirtualBox or any hypervisor so that it's connected directly to the network that I'm on. I rarely use NAT unless I'm doing something very special. But yeah, good tip. Absolutely good tip. You want that device to have an IP address, on your local network so you can remote into it for sure. Unless you have some kind of constraints. I always go go directly to bridge networking. Yeah, good call. Developing my own smart light system. All right, I could use some help. My lights flash sometimes and sometimes they don't. Due to my code, but I didn't actually program the light code. I programmed the toggle on and off code. Let's see, it can be a 5 or 6 average, 6,000, 600%. 1,000 is not a huge exaggeration, maybe. All right. I love the fact checking because I'm not sure. I'm just going with what works. At least from SATA to hard drive and SATA to SSD. All right, I totally guessed on that one. Thank you. Yeah, of course, similar to that idea, but more inspired by Philips Hue, I have a hub that discovers and communicates with lights and takes a command through that. I like it. How Weston? Can you make a video about Docker networking to a physical NIC? On Docker Compose, there is a naming YAML stuff, but I failed to VLAN stuff on Linux. Can you make a video about Docker networking to a physical NIC? Ooh, that one's tough because I could. There are probably some good resources out there. I don't have, and I'm not saying I don't ever make videos on things I don't do, but I don't have a big need for that. I understand the use case because HomeLab New was talking about a use case for it. I think that was on, it was for Docker. I'd have to look at the documentation and then try. Whole video, I'm not sure. How Weston. I totally understand the use case for it because you want to have certain containers run and only communicate with certain NICs, and those NICs are probably connected to certain networks, or they're virtual NICs with VPN, whatever the case may be. But I don't have a ton of experience with that. I can look into it. I'll put it that way. And maybe if you're in Discord, post in our containerization channel, and I'll try my best to maybe point you to a doc. But maybe that'll help. But anyways, Docker networking, it's like Linux networking, except for everything Everything you know about Linux networking is useless. All right, yeah, I knew Home Lab News still here. Yeah, he kind of went through that too. So maybe he has some pointers. But anyways, I got to wrap things up. Man, thank you guys so much. Man, there were so many follows, so many people in the channel right now. I can't thank you enough for being here. But there were lots of follows, lots of bits, lots of subs. I absolutely appreciate it 100%. And I absolutely appreciate, everyone that's chatting and spending time with me and asking all these great questions. If you guys weren't here asking questions, I'd have nothing to say. That might be a good thing. I don't know. But, like I say too, this exercises my brain in a different way, something that I don't get from coding or doing machine learning or get from, or get from configuring servers. Just interacting and thinking on my toes it's a good skill to pick up, and this is definitely helping me. I haven't had any dev forum presentations or any kind of presentations lately with everyone on lockdown. So I feel like this is my live presentation where I can't mess up, and if I do, I have to eat my words. But anyways, yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for the Discord link. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. If you have any additional questions, Home Lab New posted a Discord link. I encourage you to join. There's people there that talk about all different kinds of things that we're interested in, and a lot of things that a lot of people are interested in. I learn new stuff every day. So I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good weekend and be good to each other. Take care. Yeah.